Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 126 on the calendar in the matter of Gonzalez versus Pulaski.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Is this your sister?
Yes, it is.
According to your complaint, some time ago you purchased a house for your mother. The house was in close proximity to where your sister lives.
Yeah.
And the intention was that your sister would take care of your mother because her health was failing. You live far away.
300 miles.
Your mother did pass away when?
December, we buried her Christmas Eve.
Of 2001.
Yes.
And it is your claim that your sister did some unauthorized things with the house. She rented it to someone without your knowledge, and the renters caused damage to the house. You want the money that she took in rent and also to pay for the damage done to the house.
She also sold the appliances that we had in the house.
Your sister says she made certain executive decisions with regard to the house. In whose name is this house titled?
Ours, Your Honor.
Is that correct?
That's correct. You know, Your Honor, I originally thought it was my mom's house. As a matter of fact, I thought it was the sweetest thing they ever did was buy my mom a house as a gift.
Just what?
Okay.
House is titled in your name?
Yes,
Correct,
it is.
Your Honor.
Okay.
After your mother passed away in December, what kind of communications did you have with your sister with regard to the house?
When she agreed to keep an eye on the house and I gave her a key for emergencies, seeing it's in Chicago and it's wintertime, I was in constant contact with her, and I have a copy of my cell phone bill showing how many times I did call her, and it stops when she refused to start answering the phone.
How come you hadn't put the house on the market for sale?
We didn't put it on for sale.
No, we weren't sure what we were going to do with the house.
Well, what were your options?
Sell it, rent it.
Okay. Was there any financial arrangement between you and your sister that you were going to pay her any money with regard to keeping an eye on the house?
No.
No.
Now, when did you go to the house and find that there were tenants there?
This was on April 12th, 2002. We had a chance or an opportunity to go there to check up on the house and find out why she hadn't been answering the phone. We walked in, I found the door unlocked. We found cars in the backyard. I seen my sister standing right there as soon as I walked in the house. And she's standing there with her hands on her hips, and she sees me. And the first thing out of her mouth was, "They won't pay me the second month's rent." It was amazing, unbelievable.
You say there were appliances that were sold. What appliances were sold?
Washer, dryer, refrigerator, 2 TVs, VCR.
Air conditioner that came with the house.
We came in, everything was gone.
When you came in on April 12th, everything was gone?
Everything was out of the house. I asked her how come she did it. She says, I needed money. So then I confronted her about the house. She says, well, you weren't living there. And I says, we didn't tell you to sell anything. We didn't tell you to rent it. I mean, it's not yours to rent, and it's not your things to sell.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll hear from you now. Your mother passed away in December of 2001. You were watching the house. So, tell me what happened.
Oh, my sister says she saw strangers there. This is a friend of ours from grammar school. Her son needed a place to stay. The house was vacant, and I was in between jobs, so I thought I would make it a win-win situation. I would make a couple extra dollars. I was going to tell her, I didn't stop taking your calls. That's all made up. I never stopped taking your calls.
Just a second. Just talk to me. Don't talk to
Okay,
her.
I'm sorry. But anyways, I just thought I was helping somebody. I really thought, my friend's son needed a place to stay. He just had a newborn baby. There's an empty place there. Nobody's in there. It's the middle of winter. I was going to rent it out, but then he was short on money, and he didn't have any money, and I wanted to wait to tell her until I had money. I was going to tell her, but I wanted to pay her. And I really
Tell me about
sold
the appliances
because I needed the money. When he didn't come up with any money for rent, he gave me $200, and I needed to pay some bills too, and those aren't my sister's appliances. Those are all my mom's things. She may have bought the house that I thought was my mother's, but she didn't. Those are my mom's things.
What things were your mom's?
It's my mom's furniture.
No, we're talking about appliances.
Okay, my mom's appliances, my mom's furniture, my mom's everything that was in there.
Let me ask
is
you
not
this
my
question.
sister's.
When you purchased the house,
Yeah.
was there a refrigerator in the house?
No, Your Honor, we had previously purchased all of these appliances for my mother before we even bought the house for her. She had those in her apartment, and we have receipts.
You have her
using our
receipts.
charge card
No,
to
those
pay
are
for the
our
items.
receipts.
No, just a second. Wait. You purchased those things for your mother
Correct.
as a gift
Yes,
for her old apartment.
yes.
Right.
Once you make a gift to someone, they're no longer yours. So if your mother moved those things into the house, those items of personal property become part of her estate. don't belong to you. Are there two siblings, just the two of you?
No, Your Honor.
How many children are there?
We have 2 others, but they're not involved in any of this.
Well, I can't make any judgment with regard to the appliances. The appliances are not yours. Do you understand that? Once you purchased them for your mother and gave them to her for her old place, they became her property, not your property anymore. The fact that your sister sold them is wrong, but it's not just you that's involved if you have 2 other siblings, because if you wish to make a big deal about it, then what you do is you have to get all 4 siblings, decide what the property was sold for, and each of you would get 1/4 of that. You would not get 100% of it.
So if we buy it and pay for it ourselves, it's not ours no more.
No, it is not yours. Not if you give it to somebody else. It's not yours anymore. You gave it to somebody. I'll put it to you another way. Let's say that your mother purchased appliances for you and gave them to you for your house, which is what you did for your mother.
Yeah.
And you moved them into a second house or a third house. Whose appliances are they?
Okay. I
Whose
understand.
appliances are
It's
they?
ours.
They're yours. Somebody gave you a gift. Your mother-in-law gave you a gift. You made a gift to your mother. There was no arrangement with her that the title to this property would remain in your name, that you were just loaning these items to her. You were being good children.
May I make a comment about what Joan had said earlier?
Yes.
She did know that the house was under our name
Oh, you
because
did not, you guys, and you know.
Yes, you did. Even if you didn't care. Even if you didn't care. You had no right to exercise any control over that property. And if you didn't know that the property was in their name, then you should have found out. And I'm going to tell you why else I know that you knew the property was in your sister's and her husband's name. Because if you needed money, it's clear from what you say, you were in desperate need for money because you had bills to pay, you were in desperate need for money, you would have said to your sister, we have to sell the house because I need the money because I'm really stressed out now financially.
Well, Judge, can I say something?
Sure.
The situation just came about. I didn't go look for a tenant. It just, somebody
You
needed...
knew the house was in their name, and you had no... Yes, you did.
No, Eddie. You could ask Eddie. I called him, and we talked when he bought that. I was crying. I told him that it was the sweetest thing he ever had done for... I ever heard of anyone doing for somebody.
How old was your mother?
She was in her 70s. And he gave it to her as a Christmas gift.
Baloney.
That's what they...
He was...
Hey.
Listen, why in the world would these people, who are not stupid people, make a gift to a woman who was probably not in very good health, in her 70s, and knowing that if she passed away
Wow.
in 2 months or 3 months, that property would become part of an estate and would be divided among 4 children?
No, I didn't...
4 children.
I didn't look ahead to what would happen.
You don't look ahead at all, madam.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
she admitted it to the police that she collected $600.
I didn't tell the police any of that.
Oh, quiet down.
I'm not trying to, Your Honor.
I'm reading something. Could you be quiet? I mean, are you on medication?
I'm not on medication.
Good, then be quiet.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary and Edward Gonzalez say Mary's sister Joan Pulowski rented their home and sold their belongings without permission. Joan says she thought the house was owned by her deceased mother.
Okay. How much did you get for the rent for the first month?
$200.
They told
What kind
us,
of damage was done to the property?
Your Honor, they told us they paid her $600.
They didn't.
Sir, listen to me. That's hearsay.
Your
Could
Honor,
I see the damage that was done to the house?
She admitted it to the police that she collected $600, and I
Let
have
me
a
see
copy
the
of the
police
police
report.
report.
No, I didn't.
Let me
That's
see
a
the
copy of the police report, and she admits it to the police.
I didn't tell the police any of that.
Well, that's the police report.
Oh, quiet down.
But I did not, because I know what they gave me. And that's why I was telling you that they didn't give me the rest, otherwise I would have given you something. You guys, I'm not trying to, Your Honor,
I'm reading something. Could you be quiet? I mean, are you on medication?
No, I'm not.
Good.
I'm not on medication.
Good, then be quiet. Well, this doesn't say that she was paid $600. This says she agreed to rent them the premises for $600 a month since it was vacant. It doesn't say she was paid $600. Okay. Now let me see photographs of the damage that was done to the house.
The Polaroids, Your Honor, are the damages after we cleaned the place out.
It took us 2 days to clean the place up, Your Honor.
And the house, we bought the house, it was totally remodeled. Everything
It
was
had brand new rugs, walls. It was all brand new done. There's holes everywhere. The rugs were totally trashed.
Your Honor, my
And-
mom lived there for a little while, too. It's not like it was brand new.
Your Honor.
How long was your mother there?
Just 2 weeks. But we were all, my 3 kids were there, too. And
Well,
they're-
if your kids were there and your mother was there for 2 weeks, then you're responsible for this damage.
Well, maybe, I don't know exactly what damages they saw. I didn't see it all, but I know
Well,
that
I'll show you.
I know the carpets weren't clean. I know that was one of the things she said.
There were
but
brand new carpets around her when she moved
those
in.
carpets were not clean when I gave my friend the key.
Well, then your kids made a mess of the carpets.
I'm sorry.
Well, then you pay for it.
I could have cleaned it. I own a carpet cleaner, but they wouldn't allow it after I...
Show this to the defendant, please. She's
You know,
outrageous.
Your Honor,
You're outrageous.
really, this is a little bit going overboard. My mom would be very outraged that we were in court about this.
That's probably true. Your behavior was outrageous.
And then, Your Honor, I ran out of film, and I couldn't photograph the screens on the windows. They're either missing or split, broken.
Listen to me. She didn't take care of your property. You weren't gone very long. From December 2001 until April, we're only talking about 4 months.
Well-
in 4 months, they made a real mess out of the premises, because I believe that at the time that your mother moved in, you would not have moved your mother into a place that was not immaculate.
Right.
Well, you know, these people, they were only living there a month, Your Honor. That damage was done in a month. They busted the back door. They busted the bathroom door.
No, I see.
Totally
I-
trashed it.
I see, and I see what you're suing for, which is really pretty minimal, $3,900. Cost you more than that to clean up this mess. All right. It's very unfortunate. I'm sure your mother would not like the fact that two sisters are in court fighting with each other over this kind of thing. But your actions were absolutely 100% wrong and inappropriate. How much did you pay for this house?
$70,000.
I think you ought to sell it. Probably be a good idea if you sold it.
I agree.
Yeah, you don't want to live too close, because you never know. If you're not there, you're an absentee person. Your sister might get angry with you one day. You never know what's going to happen. In any event, it'll cost you at least $3,900 to put this place back in order. That's what you're suing for, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My mother would be rolling over in her grave right now.
She's not family. She did not do what family does.
I think my sister's making a big deal about it. It's a big baby.
She's a user.
We could have worked this out together, but no.
Personally, I'll never have nothing to do with her.
Don't fight over money. It's not worth it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Cox versus Cineas. Step forward, please.
19-year-old student Jody Cox is suing her former friend, 19-year-old student Jerry Sinius, for damage to a car that was rented in her name.
Miss Cox, the defendant was a friend of yours, and according to your complaint, you were foolish enough to rent a car for him, your name, using your credit card. Is that right?
Well, the car, it was in his name. I was the second driver. He just needed me as a second driver so he could use the credit card.
So you used your credit card.
Yes.
But the intention was for him to use the car.
Yes, I wasn't going to be there at all. I was just doing him a favor. This way he could take his trip, and he told me he was going to pay for everything in cash.
Where was he going?
Virginia, I believe.
But you weren't going to be on the trip. The car was for him. Is that right, sir?
Correct.
And then the car got smashed up,
Yes.
and they've sued you
No, well, they charged me, and
on
my
the credit
mother paid
card,
it off.
on your credit card.
Yes.
How much did they charge your credit card?
$1,400. I have a statement.
I'd like to see it, please.
I also have the estimate for the damage and a picture of the car.
I just want to see what they charged you.
Okay.
$1,400. When did you take this trip, sir?
On the 12th of April, I believe it was.
And there's no question that the car was damaged while you had it on this trip.
Correct.
Let's hear you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jody Cox says former friend Jerry Sinius wrecked a car rented in her name. Jerry says he wasn't driving when the accident occurred.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, we took the trip, right? On
Who's
the way
we?
back, me and my other two friends, Kenneth and Roy. We took the trip.
Which one is this?
This is Kenneth. On the way back, I was a little tired, so I let him drive the car, right? But me and Jody had the understanding that he would be the second driver. So on the way back, we got into an accident.
Just a minute. You had that understanding with her.
Correct.
Is that right?
We had to understand that he would be driving to Virginia, and if he got tired, someone else would drive. Yes.
Which was Kenneth.
Yeah.
All right. Now, on the way back, Kenneth got into a little accident. It hit the side of the car. And then we took it back to the rental place, and they said that I thought at first the insurance would cover it, but it didn't. So,
Why not?
but I don't know the reason.
Do you know the reason?
No, they didn't even tell me this. I didn't even know until I got the credit card statement.
Well, me, Kenneth, and Roy, we came to agreement that the person who was behind the wheel would tell Jody.
Who asked her for the use of her credit card?
I asked her.
He was your friend.
Yes, he was a good friend of mine as well.
What about Kenneth?
He was a friend, but I was good friends with Jerry.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, we came to that agreement that Kenneth would tell Jody about the accident. Well, he didn't. So she found out through the statement. Well, so I felt, me personally, I felt I wasn't responsible for the accident being the fact that I wasn't behind the wheel. Had I was behind the wheel, I would take full responsible for it. But I wasn't behind the wheel, so I don't feel I was responsible.
I don't think you're a bad person. A little shifty, maybe. But let me just outline what you've testified to. And you tell me, because I really don't think that you're a bad person. Misguided, maybe. So let me outline what we have. She was a good friend of yours.
Correct.
You asked her, you, alone, asked her for a favor.
Correct.
The favor was, can I use your credit card? Some friends of mine and I want to take a trip.
Correct.
And I don't have a credit card to use. Can I use your credit card? She says yes. Rent a car and you go on the trip.
Correct.
You get tired. Yeah. She didn't get tired.
You're right.
You got tired. You have the following choices when you get tired. You can pull off the road and take a nap. You can say, I've driven enough today. You chose to allow your friend to drive the car. She didn't have your friend drive the car. You chose, you, who had the original agreement with her, let your friend drive the car. He gets into an accident. Were you sleeping at the time?
Yes, I was.
So you don't know about the accident?
No.
You don't know what happened?
Not exactly.
You have no idea what happened. Then, instead of you telling your friend who went out on a limb for you, listen, we had an accident, and let's see what the responsibility is here, you decide to let Kenneth tell her.
But we came to agreement.
Not with her.
With him.
With him?
Yes.
What does that have to do with her?
Nothing.
Right. Nothing. She's the innocent. Little stupid, but innocent. Now, you don't say to Kenneth a few hours later, did you call Miss Cox and tell her about the accident?
Yes, I did.
And what did he say to you?
I asked him, did he call her? He didn't reply.
He didn't reply, and that was good enough for you.
He said he was going to call her.
He said he was going to call her.
Correct.
So then did you say to him the next day, did you call her and let her know about the accident?
Yes, I did.
And what did he say?
He said, I'm going to call her.
You didn't say to him, let's sit down right now, because this is not right. She did me a favor. The favor was, let me use her credit card.
Correct.
Let's sit down right now and you pick up that phone and call her and tell her that you had an accident. You didn't do that, right? You just figured.
That he would call and tell her.
You believe that Kenneth is responsible?
Because he was behind the wheel and...
You believe that Kenneth was responsible and that he should pay for it. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Good. So this is what we're going to do. I'm giving her a judgment for $1,400 against you. If you think Kenneth is responsible, you take out a summons and sue him. Do you understand?
Yes.
That way, she's dealing with the person who she made a contract with.
Correct.
You then are dealing with a person that you feel is responsible.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 7 on the calendar, the matter of Russell versus Foster.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Russell, you claim that the defendant owes you for the return of some bail money,
Yes.
that he wrecked your car,
Yes.
and that he burned a hole with a cigarette in your car.
Yes.
Defendant says that the only reason he got a ticket for driving while under the influence of alcohol was because you were too drunk to drive. You were in the car at the time he was stopped. That he did not wreck your car, it was somebody else. And that he has no idea who put a hole with a cigarette in your car. That's your defense.
That's true.
No, that's your defense.
Yes, it's true that that's my defense.
Oh, smart. I like smart.
Yeah, smart's good.
Let's see how he does at the end. Miss Russell, he was your boyfriend?
Yes.
For how long?
About 9 to 10 months.
Starting when?
February 22nd is the day that we met. We went on our first date on the 24th of February.
Okay. And when was the arrest for driving under the influence of alcohol?
April 28th.
Were you with him?
Yes.
What time was it?
God, it was right around when the club was closing, so it could have been any time between midnight and 1 o'clock.
Whose car was it?
My car.
Who had driven there?
I drove there.
Why didn't you drive home?
I had been drinking.
So if you had been drinking, did you ask the defendant to drive your car?
No, I didn't ask him to drive my car. He took the keys, got in the car, and pulled out of the parking spot before I was even inside of the car. He was angry because he thought that he had seen me kissing somebody else inside of the club, which never happened, and so he was adamant about driving us home.
And had you had too much to drink, Mr. Foster?
Yes.
So then why did you get behind the wheel of a car?
She asked me to.
Were you afraid of her?
Was I afraid of her? No.
would you say on a scale of 1 to 10 you have more fear of her or me?
Probably you.
I would like you, with one hand, to pick up that desk and move it out to the corner. Can you do that?
Is it bolted down? I probably could.
What I'm trying to say, Mr. Foster, is if she asks you to drive home and you've had too much to drink, you say, if you're too drunk, I've had too much to drink, I don't get behind the wheel of a car. So if you got behind the wheel of a car, it's your fault, and if you were arrested for a DUI, that's your fault. Now, the only question is, she bailed you out. Tell me how that came about, Miss Russell.
We were about a half mile away from my house when the police officer pulled us over, and there was 2 police officers in the car. So one of them drove my car to my house with me in it. The other officer followed us with Mark in the back of the car. They let me go to the back of the car to talk to him before they took him to jail, and he was upset. He was crying. He wasn't looking forward to spending the weekend in jail, considering that it was a Friday night, and asked me if there was anything I can do. If I could get the money together to bail him out, he would pay me back. So
He never said the word pay you back. He never used the words pay you back, Miss Russell. I'm a little bit older than you are. That's not what's said. What's said is, can you get the money together to get me out? That sounds right. The pay you back part doesn't sound right.
he did promise to pay me back the bail money.
Go ahead.
So I got the money together. I went down to the jail and I bailed him out that night.
Let me hear your version of the events, sir.
Well, we got pulled over, and, you know, like she said, the cops drove her car to her house with me in the squad car behind it, and then took me to jail. That Friday night, she had asked me to call her when I got, you know, into the cell or whatever with a phone, and so I did. And she said that she felt bad and that she had some money and that she could come bail me out. And, you know, I told her I'd probably be out in the morning, if not Sunday morning. You know, we had an attorney, and he would most likely be able to get me out on OR. However, you know, she insisted on coming down and bailing me out. And basically what I said was, you know, I'm not exactly going to hold on to the bars, you know, when the deputy comes to let me out, you know, not exactly going to refuse to leave.
Okay. How much was the bail?
The bail posted was $7,500. I paid $765 to get him out. Your Honor, I don't have $765 laying around at any given point in time.
Then, Miss Russell, what you shouldn't have done is you shouldn't have taken your car, driven your car to the club, had enough drinks so that you couldn't drive yourself home, and then, since you couldn't drive yourself home, got into a car with him when you knew he was drinking and allowed him to drive your car home. That's what you should not have done. He should not have gotten behind the wheel of that car. But you're just as guilty as he is. But for the fact that he got behind the wheel of the car, you would have gotten behind the wheel of the car and driven home. That's what would have happened. Then maybe you would have got pulled over. So he got pulled over, and I don't care whether there was an agreement or not. You pay for half the bail, and you're so stupid you pay for half the bail. Do you understand? Now, you say he wrecked your car. Tell me about that.
June 30th, we were on our way to a concert. Again, he drove my car. We were in stop-and-go traffic. He had enough distance between him and the car in front of us, but he had turned to me to say something, and when he looked forward again, traffic had stopped. He slammed on the brakes and tried to merge a little bit, and the driver's side front end of my car ended up hitting the back of another person's car.
Yes?
We pulled off the freeway with the other person, and I had friends following me at the time, too, that were going to the concert with us. The woman in the car wasn't hurt. She had absolutely no damage done to her car, and she said that she was in a rush, so she didn't want to file a police report or exchange information, so we all left.
So, what kind of car was this?
It's a 2000 Mitsubishi Eclipse.
So you have insurance.
Yes.
Did you pay to have the car fixed?
No, I haven't gotten it fixed yet.
Why not?
It turns out afterwards I found out that his license was suspended due to the DUI, which means that my insurance won't cover his driving my car because he didn't have a valid driver's license at the time.
Why did you get behind the wheel of a car if you had a suspended license?
I wasn't even in the car.
Oh, really? Tell me about that.
Well, I wasn't even in the car. She said that she was going with some friends to a concert. I was working, actually, on the road. What I do is I move people's furniture. I'm a truck driver. I was out of town.
So according to you, you never were in an accident with her car?
Nope. Never.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
They had been in a terrible fight that morning. Then he shows up, gives her flowers, and insists on driving. I was one car behind them when the impact occurred. He hit them. I'm not sure how fast he was going.
Is this beginning to jog your memory a little bit?
And later today,
Why aren't you responsible?
Because he had told me that he was going to pay for it, and I said that was fine.
So sue him.
Yeah, he should sue him. He shouldn't be suing
No!
me.
You sue him!
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lisa Russell says She posted bail for ex-boyfriend Mark Foster when he was arrested on a DUI. Lisa also claims that during a separate incident, Mark wrecked her car.
Go ahead.
Basically, I'd heard about the accident through the grapevine, you know, that some other guy was driving the car or whatever, you know, and I questioned her about it. Of course, she denied it. And once I got married, all of a sudden this whole lawsuit thing came about. So, you know, I think she had hopes that, you know, we would be back together and yada yada. And once I got married, you know, seemed a little bitter.
I think you ought to have your car fixed.
I think I need to have it fixed too. I didn't want to pay the money out of my own pocket to have it fixed, though.
Well, if you let somebody under the influence of alcohol drive your car again, maybe you have to pay the consequence of that. I can't tell whether he was driving the car or not. You have any witnesses here who were in the car with him?
Jonna was driving right behind us.
Step up. Tell me your last name, please.
Costello.
Are you friend, relative?
Just a friend.
Okay. Tell me what you observed.
We were all driving to San Bernardino for a concert. Mark and Lisa had gotten the tickets. I met them both at her house. From there...
Is this beginning to jog your memory a little bit?
Not at all.
Okay.
They had been in a terrible fight that morning, so we weren't sure if he was coming or not. Then he shows up right before we were leaving, gives her flowers, and insists on driving. I followed them to the concert. I was one car behind them when the impact occurred. It was stop-and-go traffic. He hit them. I'm not sure how fast he was going at all.
How did he get to her house?
You know, I don't know. I think he might have driven there or gotten dropped off. I just saw him come in.
How did he get to your house?
He was living with me at the time.
I didn't even know that.
Really?
He was living with me at my parents' house at the time.
Oh. So if he was living with you, were you living in the same room? You sharing a room?
Yes.
Good. Then you ought to know that he has a suspended license.
I never asked him what...
You should have asked. You should have asked.
I should have asked.
Because that's what a deductible is for on your insurance. Because you certainly knew that you'd bailed him out of jail. You'd be smart. You say, what happens with your license during that time? I'm sure you were involved in his getting an attorney, right? Did you ever go with him to the attorney's office?
No, I never went with him to the
Did you discuss with him the visits that he had with the attorney?
We discussed how much time he was going to be spending in jail, considering the fact that he had violated probation. And his probation officer wanted to give him, I think, up to 2 months. And he told me that his attorney was getting him off for about 2.5 weeks.
Between the time that he was arrested for this DUI and the June 30th, since he was living with you, how many times did he drive your car?
He drove my car numerous times.
Of course. Okay. What's the deductible on your insurance?
$1,000.
Let me see. And I also want to see the estimate.
I got 3 different estimates from 3 different auto body companies.
Well, the cheapest estimate is $1,506. Is that right?
Yes.
And you have a $1,000 deductible on your policy, right?
Correct.
So he's responsible for half of that, because I find that half of that is attributed to you, because you should have known that he wasn't supposed to be driving your car. And I think you did know that he wasn't supposed to be driving anybody's car. Now, you want to tell me about the cigarette hole?
Cigarette hole was New Year's Eve, and I was driving us back home because I was sober at the time. And he was trying to flick his ash of the cigarette out the window, which was only cracked a little bit, and instead he hit the headliner, and the cherry of the cigarette went up into the headliner and burned a hole. The car's only 2 years old. I'd like to keep it in as good of condition as I possibly can.
When did you marry?
April 16th.
January, February, March. Did you file a lawsuit against him?
I filed my lawsuit originally.
Those your original papers?
Yes.
Let me see them, please. What were you suing him for $5,000 for debts?
I was angry at the time. I was trying to go after phone bills from when he was in jail. I was going to ask for half of the collect calls that he made, and then interest on all the money that I've lost to him.
Well, your original lawsuit, madam, was $5,000. That's what you originally filed. When you were here, you filed for $2471.98, and I find that he actually owes you $882.50. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Not give anybody a dime ever again.
Justice was served.
Don't be in a similar situation.
Don't drive drunk.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Chandler versus Chapman. Step forward, please.
Teacher James Chandler is suing the ex-wife of his girlfriend's son, 21-year-old collections agent Trista Chapman, for wrecking his car. James says Trista took the car off-road and broke the axle.
Mr. Chandler, the defendant was driving your car and wrecked it,
That's correct, ma'am.
and you want her to pay for it.
Absolutely.
You didn't give her permission to drive your car.
That's correct.
How do you know her?
She is my girlfriend's son's ex-wife.
Girlfriend's son's ex-wife.
At the time they were estranged.
Now, I'm going to make a guess that the son's name is Brian,
Correct.
because she says she had Brian's permission to drive the car. So you tell me how that came about and why you don't think you're responsible for the damage to the car.
I had asked Brian to use the car to go to a doctor's appointment.
Were you separated from Brian at the time?
Yes.
So you called Brian. And who was Brian living with?
His mother.
And the plaintiff?
Yes. I had asked him to use a car to go to a doctor's appointment. He had told me, let me call you back. Let me call my mother and ask her if it's okay. He called her, called me back.
No, you don't know what he said to his mother.
No, I don't know what was said.
But he called you back and said what?
Yes, it is okay for you to use the vehicle.
Fine.
He came, he picked me up. I dropped him back off at home. And from there, I went to my doctor's appointment.
Where was your doctor's appointment?
In Apple Valley.
Did you go alone?
Yes.
So you drove alone in the car?
Yes.
Both going there and coming home?
And when I went back, I picked up my friend to give me a ride from Brian's house to back home to where I live.
So after you finished with the doctor's appointment, you picked up a friend, and the friend was supposed to do what?
She was following me over to Brian's house to pick me up from there and take me to my home. Because
So you're driving a car, and your friend is driving in another car?
Yes.
So you're always alone in the car?
No, I had a friend with me in the car.
What friend did you have with you in the car? And where did you get her from?
She was the friend that was coming with me. When I went to pick up the car.
Pick up what car?
When I went to pick up the car from Jim's house,
No, just a minute. First, this is Jim.
Yes.
I thought Brian came and picked you up.
He picked me up from my home to get the car. But this was after the doctor's appointment when I went to go to my friend's house for her boyfriend because she doesn't have a driver's license for her boyfriend.
Now we're getting someplace else. Just a second. Ms. Chapman, we're going to get the story straight. I want you to understand that. You had Brian's permission to take the car and go to a doctor's appointment and then come home.
No, I had told him that I had to pick up a friend to get my own ride back home. And he said that was fine.
So you picked up a friend after your doctor's appointment, and your friend was driving in your car with you.
Yes.
And where did you go with your friend?
We went back to Brian's house.
Fine. So now you drop off the car. Where was the accident?
On the way leaving my friend's house when I had picked her up. And they were following me. I went through the desert and I hit a rock.
Went through a desert?
It was a shortcut through.
You took a shortcut? On a dirt road?
Yes.
And you hit a rock?
Yes.
And that's when the whole axle broke on the car?
Yes.
So explain to me, Miss Chapman, why you are not responsible for the damage.
Because he's saying that I did not have permission to use a car. I did have permission to use a car. When the accident happened, I called Brian and I told Brian what happened. He said, do not worry about it. I will pay for it.
Well, Brian's not here. Brian's not here. You're driving the car and you had permission to drive the car. Is that right?
Yes.
Why aren't you responsible?
Because he had told me that he was going to pay for it, and I said that was fine.
So sue him.
Yeah, he should sue him. He shouldn't be suing me.
You sue him because you have to pay for the damage. And if you have somebody that said to you, don't worry about it, I'll pay for the damage, then you'll be standing on that side and Brian will be standing on this side. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Let me see the bills to fix the car.
I also have photos of the damage.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
What is this lost wages for November 19th?
I'm a substitute teacher, and I had to take a day off of school and turn a job down in order to go retrieve the car. So it cost me $120.
Get that from Brian. By the way, just for my own information, did you speak to your girlfriend and find out whether Brian had ever called her?
No, I did not, and she wouldn't have given permission to use the vehicle anyway.
Well, you don't know that.
I know her.
Probably not.
He had permission to use the vehicle to go to and from work because she had already damaged their other vehicle. In fact, 2 other vehicles.
Would you describe the interior of the car, sir, when you went to retrieve it? Because I see you have cleaning and deodorizing here.
Yes, ma'am. There was a broken cigarillo butt in there and French fries all over the floor and dirt, dust from the desert. The exterior of the car was also covered in dust.
Talking about the interior of the car.
It was
Did you
covered in
stop for lunch?
Yes, I did.
Well, what'd you leave the car a mess for inside?
I was going to clean it before I took it back to him, but obviously I couldn't clean it if there was damages to the car, and a tow truck came and picked it up.
Well, why couldn't you clean it out before the tow truck took it?
Because I walked up to my friend's house to call the tow truck for I could do it, but somebody had called and said that a car was banded in the desert, and the police came and the tow truck came and towed it before I could get back to the car.
It's not a difficult case, Mr. Chandler. You have a judgment in the amount of $624.74. That's everything that you...
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 45 on the calendar in the matter of Eskridge versus Curl. Parties are sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Miss Eskridge, you claim two things in your lawsuit. First, you claim a couple of small loans to the defendant to help him out with rent and stuff. And you were his girlfriend, according to you. And then you say that at a party, he became enraged about something, threw something at you, and cracked your head open.
Mm-hmm.
Your head had to be stapled together. You want him to pay for your medical bills, your pain and suffering. Mr. Curl says he has the clue as to what you're talking about. How do you know him?
In November, my neighbor called me, and she told me that him and his girlfriend have an apartment underneath me, that his girlfriend had kicked him and his 4-year-old out at 4 o'clock in the morning, and could I help? I had previously helped her, 3 other people, referring them to the manager. She's my friend, to get apartments, so she knew that I would help. He was staying at my friend's house. I gave her like $60 for rent for him and his baby to stay.
For him?
And his little girl to stay.
Okay.
But anyway, after that, in December, he got an apartment in our building. I went to the manager and begged for this apartment.
Okay, and what other money did you give him?
$65 for food one time, $100. He broke out his girlfriend's windows in her apartment on New Year's Eve because she was in the house with one of his friends, and he busted out all the windows, and they were going to evict him. So he asked me, could I help again? Because he was going through a custody thing with this baby, and me and her just hit it off right away, his little girl. I said, yeah. I gave him $100.
Did he ever say anything about repaying this money to you?
Yes, ma'am. He told me as soon as he got through with the custody stuff, on which would be the 16th of May, with his daughter, he would start paying me back this money.
Now tell me what happened with the assault, Miss Eskridge.
He was having a get-together, and I thought it was kind of rude since I helped him out that he didn't invite me. I went to the balcony.
Were you dating him at the time?
Yes, he started wanting me to date him as I was helping him.
Well, did you date him?
Yes, I did, yes.
For how long?
Up until...
how many weeks did you date him?
About 8.
8 weeks. Okay, so you dated him for 8 weeks, and then he had a party and he didn't invite you.
Mm-hmm.
So you went to the balcony of your apartment or his apartment?
His.
So you went to the party even though you weren't invited?
I went to the balcony. I didn't go inside. I didn't go inside. I just went to the balcony. He was standing out there just to talk to him.
And what happened?
I asked him something. We started arguing. Next thing I know, looked down. He had something in his hand. But as soon as I saw it in his hand, I was hit and bleeding. That's how quick it was.
And what happened as a result of that injury?
I had to have my head stapled. They stapled my head together.
You have the medical records? Can
Yes,
I
ma'am.
see them, please? Did you file a police report?
No, because I was afraid that with the custody stuff, I didn't go to the hospital till the 15th. It happened around the 13th. I was scared. He wanted me to leave with him after he hit me. He was scared, I was scared. He wanted me to leave with him. He took me to his friend's house, and his wife looked at my head. I didn't know if the police was going to come and take his daughter away. I was so close to her, attached to her, I was scared. But after 2 days, I was in so much pain, I had to go to the hospital.
So you didn't go to the hospital for 2 days?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Miss Eskridge, can you tell me who these people are?
My son and my dad.
Were either one of them present when you were assaulted?
Yes, my son.
Okay, step up here. Tell me your name.
Jerome Messenberg.
Jerome, do you live with your mom?
Yes.
Who else lives there?
My sisters and my brothers.
I have 6 kids.
Do you know Mr. Curl?
Yes.
Have you ever seen him in your home?
No.
He's never been to your home as far as you know?
No.
Tell me what you saw on the day that your mother was injured.
I was outside with two of my brothers, and my mom was standing by the balcony. I don't know what she was doing, and then I seen something hit her in the head, but I thought nothing of it because the way it bounced off, and it looked like a rubber ball, like it could be a rubber ball or something soft, so the way it bounced off.
Did you see which direction it was thrown from?
It came from inside of his curtains, inside of his house.
Did you ever see what it was?
No.
You never saw what it was.
His nephew told me, other people in the building told me what he threw.
Well, you can't tell me what anybody else
I didn't
said
see it.
to
I
you.
just seen something in his hand, and
Okay.
I didn't know what it was.
All right, Mr. Curl, let me hear from you, sir. Tell me about this party that you had in your house.
I had like a little get-together, but no, she wasn't invited. Because for one reason, she wasn't my girlfriend, and my girlfriend stayed in the next apartment. And then, you know, but she was a friend, and yes, me and my girlfriend, yeah, we had a little misunderstanding, but she done a little things for me, but I know it was a loan. She never told me it was a loan.
Did she give you any money, sir?
She gave me like a little change. Here you go.
No, I'm not talking about change. $60, $100?
No. She bought me like probably some like McDonald's for me and my daughter.
What about these windows that got broken out, sir? You want to tell me about that?
Yes, I will. Yes.
Look at me and tell me.
That was a case that happened, and they found out that it wasn't none of me. It was a friend of mine that did that to my fiance's windows, and that's why.
A friend of yours?
Yes, a friend of mine. It wasn't none of me that did that. And my fiance.
When did that happen?
In the month of December sometime.
The management company talked to you about maybe evicting you?
No, they just told me since a friend of mine's done it, I got to pay for the property. I mean, for the damages.
Right.
And which I done.
Who gave you the money?
My own money.
How would she know about that?
How would she know about that? Because she stayed right above us in the same complex.
She says that she was injured at a party in your house. You know, that's when she came and she was not invited. What do you know about that, sir?
I don't know. I have no idea about that. I haven't seen it. You know, she said she was on the back of my patio, and I did have some company back there, and they know how she do things. She comes around and disturb everybody.
How does she come around and disturb people?
By, you know, cussing everybody out, putting things on my doors, windows, banging on my windows early in the morning.
Like what?
Like notes.
You have any of those notes?
Antiques, yes, I do.
I'd like to see them, please. Miss Eskridge, why do you put these notes on their door?
It may not be what I put. It doesn't look like.
Show them to her, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
They swing. He opened the door up, and the man picked his hat up. The man had no clothes on.
And later today,
I kind of went on a high-speed pursuit for a couple of cities.
Was this the first time you were arrested, Kenneth?
Correct, it was.
No, Kenneth. Don't fib to Mother Nature.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Noelle Eskridge says ex-boyfriend Jackie Curl owes for several loans. Noelle says she received staples in her head from his assault.
I'd like you to tell me why you put those notes on the door.
Okay. After I loaned him some money and went to his door and knocked on his door, I want to look at it and make sure it was my writing. Because the way he's sitting here lying, I want to make sure it was my writing. I went to his house to ask him for some of my money. It was a man inside of his house, half naked. And he opened the door up, and the man picked his hat up. The man had no clothes on. A friend of theirs, their wife, she told me to be very careful because they swing. And I was enraged because his girlfriend chased me with her girlfriends for 3 months down in a car. When I was helping his daughter in November through December for 2 months, I was chased with women and her. I couldn't figure out why she had women with her chasing me till people told me what they do. And I was enraged when I found out because I felt I wasn't given the choice, that I should have been told if you were these kind of people. I was enraged when I did that. I was just shocked when that man came to the door.
Ms. Eskridge, do you take any medication?
No, I don't.
Currently under a doctor's care?
No.
In order to have a successful lawsuit, Ms. Eskridge, you have to prove 2 things as far as a loan is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
You have to prove to the judge's satisfaction that there was, in fact, money turned over and that there was a contract that that money would be repaid. I don't find that here. The second thing is, you claim that Mr. Curl assaulted you. Mr. Curl says he did not assault you. I have to be satisfied before I'm satisfied that someone has caused such serious physical injury that there's sufficient proof. And I don't find that there is sufficient proof that Mr. Curl, either intentionally or otherwise, caused you the injury to your head. What I do find is that I think it's a good idea that you don't have any contact with them anymore. Not leave notes on his door, not leave notes on her door, because I don't think it's good for you.
No.
I think if what you tell me is true, then you made a mistake in judgment as to someone's character. And you extended yourself, and you should think twice about doing it again.
Right.
Do you understand? But right now, what I think you have to do is say, you made a mistake with him. He's really not a nice person. I don't want to have anything more to do with them, with either him or with his girlfriend. I've got children that I have to take care of that rely on me, and I don't want to waste any more of my energy on this man or his girlfriend. Does that make sense to you?
It makes a whole lot of sense, you know.
Good. I'm glad.
You know, he stalks me.
I'm,
you know, very badly. It's bad.
Well, then what you have to do is say, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
And I'm going to move on and not have anything to do with them because I have a greater responsibility, and my great responsibility is to my children. And I have to be mentally alert and healthy for my kids, and I don't want to take anything away with people who aren't nice. So don't have anything to do with them anymore.
All
okay?
Right. All right.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just think it was outrageous because he asked me to marry him last Wednesday.
I was dealing with a woman that's kind of, you know, maybe can be fatal.
He's crazy, and he needed to pay for what he did.
Wannabe girlfriends need not to be posting notes on other women's doors and panties, because they won't be so nice next time.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sanford Keogh versus Ames. Step forward, please.
Parquet Joanne Sanford Keogh is suing her former friend, 25-year-old transportation worker Kenneth Ames, for an unpaid loan for bail. Joanne claims she bailed Kenneth out of jail when he was arrested after a high-speed chase.
Ms. Keogh, the defendant was a friend of the family, and you claim that he owes you $1,500 for bail.
That's correct.
He seems to say, I don't know what she's talking about. Right?
Correct.
So we're going to find out. How do you know him?
I know Kenneth through my husband. My husband introduced me to Kenneth maybe about 6, 7 years ago. And since then, we've been doing favors for Kenneth for I don't know how long. On March 4th, 2001, I got a phone call from the jail saying he needed to be bailed out. It was Kenneth. And I told him then, I said, I don't have any money. I said, so I can't bail you out. He goes, oh, well, I have the money. So as soon as you bail me out, I'll write a promissory note to the bondman that I'll pay. I said, well, okay, you get that together with them, and then you call me back. In the meantime, I got 4 other phone calls from the bail bond saying, okay, it's been arranged, the third party's paid the money, all we need is the signature. So I talked to Kenneth again on the phone after that, and I tell him again, I said, Kenneth, are you sure you're going to be able to pay? I said, because I don't have any money, and I'm not going to be able to pay this. Oh, yeah, I can pay. You know, I have your rent money, I have the car money, so forth and so on. This is what he was saying. So I signed for him.
So you guaranteed his bail?
Yeah.
You didn't actually put out any money?
No.
But you signed as a guarantor?
Right.
Let me see the paperwork. I'll get to you in a minute, Kenneth.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joanne Sanford Keogh is suing her former friend, Kenneth Ames, for an unpaid loan for bail. Joanne claims she bailed Kenneth out of jail when he was arrested after a high-speed chase.
What were you arrested for, Kenneth?
Disrespect for public safety.
What?
Disrespect for public safety.
And you had got $25,000 bail for that?
Correct.
Tell me the facts underlying that case, Kenneth.
The facts underlining, pulled over at a bad timing, unfortunately without a license at the time. Did an unfortunate thing of taking the police for a drive. I kind of went on a high-speed pursuit for a couple of cities, places, here's and there's, and at the end of it...
Was this the first time you were arrested, Kenneth?
Correct, it was.
It's the first time you were arrested?
No. Excuse me.
No,
I'm sorry.
Kenneth. Don't fib to Mother Nature.
Okay, yeah, I've been arrested before, true. But have I been incarcerated before, prior?
I asked you if you'd been arrested before.
Okay, arrested, yes.
What kind of work do you do, Kenneth?
Caltrans.
What is that?
Road work. Work on the freeways, clean up, pick up.
Okay, so now I see what's left on this bail is $1,450. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Who made the payment of $90?
Kenneth made that one payment.
Just a minute. And then I see another $25 payment.
I made that payment out of my personal account after they called me on my job, harassing me, telling me they were going to garnish my wages and so forth.
So he really owes you $1,475.
Yes.
Okay. Now I'll hear from you, Mr. Ames.
As her story goes, correct, I was bailed out of jail. I already knew I was in there. I could either be OR'd without having a record prior to my name, so I figured if I even sat in there, it did not matter. But yet the fact of friends and other people that I knew said that I shouldn't sit in there due to the fact that anything could happen at any time. My employment could go down the tubes. So to get out of there.
What's the name of that comedian that talks and you can't understand him? Foster Brooks?
That's the one that acts drunk.
I don't have a clue as to what this man is saying to me. You want to start again?
You cannot understand what I say, excuse me?
I cannot understand a word of this defense. Not a word.
Here, let me start over then.
Good.
As you know, Miss Keogh did not put up any money. Other people all came together to bail me out. All she had to do was sign to say that it would get paid. When I got out, I paid all the people back. Now, the remaining balance, I was told Miss Keogh was asked to make a payment for some reason. Then when I found out it was a $25 payment, which the payments were $90, I mean, petty, called me up telling me, I just paid your whole payment for you this month. You didn't pay me a payment, you paid $25. That's not even, that's barely a quarter of the payment. Stop there. I'll make sure that the rest of it gets paid. It was paid off totally in full.
You have proof of that, sir?
Unfortunately, the person who did the payment off, his wife has the receipt. I cannot get in contact with her because he is gone right now.
No, all you have to do is go to the bail bondsman.
They have all my numbers. They knew when I lived with my mom when I also got out.
To me.
If I owed a prior balance...
Pay careful attention to what I just said. You said somebody else paid off the remaining balance.
So there was no balance.
But their wife is having a baby and is
none of that.
in Saskatchewan, whatever. So you couldn't get the receipt. So I said to you, that's your defense, that it was paid by somebody else and that there is no balance. You go to the bail bondsman and you say, I'm going to court next week. Can I please have a statement showing zero balance?
They say they don't need to show a statement because it's all gone. Their computer shows no record of Kenneth Ames. I have no balance with them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I owe them nothing.
You work full-time?
Yes.
You on salary?
No.
You get any kind of assistance? Is that what you're working for?
No.
You work for nothing?
No, I do not work for nothing.
Well, what do you work for?
Caltrans. You know what Caltrans is? California
Transit.
Well, that's what he said. That's why I asked him if he got a salary, and he said no.
It's not a salary. I get paid by the hour. Ask it hourly wage, not a salary. Salary would be a set pay, huh?
I do understand Foster Brooks.
You do?
Yeah, him I understand.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad you're working. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,400 stake.
Yes, it is.
And Miss Martin, this is your son.
Yes, it is.
How lovely for you both. Miss Stake, you had a rental car. You let your son drive the car. He was with his friends. My reading of these papers suggests to me that both of these idiots got drunk. He drove the car right into a pole. Right?
Correct.
You think his mom, because he's a minor, should pay for the damage to the car.
Correct.
His mom says that you know your son drinks and you shouldn't have given him the car. That's your position.
That's correct.
So that you are not responsible for the damage.
Right.
Before I ask you two ladies to sit down, I'd like just for you to give me the bills for the car, and then I'm going to deal with the young men.
This is the
So the amount that you had to pay was $5,878.43.
That's the balance of it. My insurance paid $4,900.
But this is just the balance.
Correct.
Why don't you two ladies have a seat for a moment? I'll ask you to come back in a moment. Your first name is what, sir?
Paul.
Paul. And yours?
Jamal.
Now, Paul, tell me about how your mother, it came about that you asked your mother to borrow the car for the evening.
Well, it was, we all wanted to go out. He called me up. He said, what's up on the night? And I said, nothing, and got this rental car, and, you know, he wanted to go kick it. So I was like, all right, fine. You know, I told him I didn't have no money. He said, come on now, this is Jamal.
Could you keep your voice up and try to speak slowly?
Oh, okay. He was like, come on now, this is Jamal. So I was like, all right. So he wanted to get drunk. Well, we all wanted to get drunk. So he went and bought the drink. Then after a while, we went to my...
Just a minute. So you went to your mother, and you said to your mother what?
Well, actually, she already gave me the car. She already let me use the car.
That day?
Yeah. But
What did she say when she gave you the car?
She was like, be careful. And I said, okay.
That sounds right. You said, be careful?
Yes.
So right after your mother said, be careful, you and this genius over here decided to use the car and to go and get some booze and drink, right?
Right.
And where did you decide to do that?
At my sister's house.
Your sister's house? How old is your sister?
Well, she is about 19 now.
So you decided to go to your 19-year-old sister's house with Jamal over here and how many other people?
Just one more person, my best friend.
Now, were you drinking before you got to your sister's house? Is not an answer. In court?
No.
No is an answer. So what happened at your sister's house?
Well, I said, let's leave, you know, because he got into an argument with my sister and everybody else in the house. So I said, you know, let's leave. But by that time we decided to leave, we was already toe up. We were already drunk.
What was the word you used first? Toe up.
Toe up.
Okay, go ahead.
And so, you know, I was too intoxicated to drive, but I still said, let's go. But I wasn't going to leave just right away after I said, let's go. I was going to stay there and wait until I got sobered up. But he was like, no, you too drunk. He tried to take the keys from me. I was struggling with him because I was going to throw them to my best friend across the street. But he already got the keys from me because I was too intoxicated to hold on to the keys. But I still remember that. And after that, he just got into the car. I don't remember how I got into the car. That's the only thing I don't remember. But we got into it.
Well, if you don't remember how you got into the car, you must have been 3 sheets to the wind. Did you ever hear that expression? 3 sheets to the wind?
Nah, no.
Nah.
So.
No, toe up, you know. Go ahead. So now you're in a car. You don't know how you got there because you were
toe up.
Drunk as a skunk. Right?
Yes.
What do you remember next, Paul?
All I remember is you know, I hear the car going, and next thing I know, I hear him and my best friend in the back arguing, telling him to slow down. And I did wake up and say, slow down, and then I went back.
That you remember. You don't know how you got into the car, but you remember saying, slow down.
I do remember that.
Okay. And the next thing you know, you were dancing with a pole.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
They're 2 idiots.
I agree with that. And the mother is an idiot as well.
Excuse me?
And later today.
Just a second. A bunch of guys went fishing to celebrate his wife being pregnant?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gina Stake is suing Jamal Martin's mother, Queenie, because Jamal wrecked her car. Queenie says she's not responsible, claiming Jamal only drove the car because Gina's son, Paul, was too drunk to drive.
Jamal!
Yes.
Let's hear from you.
Okay. On September 13th, I called him and asked him.
Let's do this. You were in his sister's house drinking.
We were outside drinking.
I stand corrected. You were outside drinking.
Mm-hmm.
What were you drinking?
A bottle of Tanqueray.
Tanqueray. That's vodka?
Gin.
Gin. Thank you.
Water.
All right, so you all get towed up. Tow up?
Toe up.
Tow up. You all get tow up, and you got into the car.
Yes.
And what happened?
While we were outside, I was talking to a friend, and I heard some yelling. When I turned around, Paul and his friend Jacoby were arguing about who was going to drive home. Now, I already knew that Paul had passed out, so I walked over to him and told him to give me the keys. There was an incident months before where he had gotten drunk, and I had drove him home before, and his mother had thanked me for it the next day.
Were you drunk
No.
then?
No, I wasn't.
Yes, but you were drunk that evening.
Yes, I was.
So you got behind the car, the wheel of the car,
Yes.
drunk,
Yes.
and hit a pole,
Yes.
and totaled the car.
Yes.
How old are you?
19.
How old are you?
18.
You go to school?
Yes.
You work after school?
No, not anymore.
Why?
Well, they had to let me go because I had to rephase a class. And
You had to what?
Rephase the class. That's taking the class over.
Why?
Because it was hard and I didn't understand it, so I had to take it over.
What about you?
No, I'm working right now.
Oh, good. That's good.
Thank you.
Now I'll have the mothers back. Consider yourselves both really lucky. I assume you do. You look like two absolutely lovely women.
Thank you.
Lovely, responsible women who really shouldn't be here today because they're too big to beat, for want of a better word. So you got to beat them financially in order to teach them a lesson, both of them. Because I agree with you that this young man is partially responsible for this bill. So is he. You agree?
I agree.
He had no business getting behind the wheel of a car.
That's true.
So he's got to pay.
I also agree, however, though, that mistake is also at fault.
If she knew that her son had driven before drunk,
right,
and she was hoping it would not recur, is that right?
I agree.
Then she's partially responsible. He's going to pay half of this bill.
And what portion is mistake going to pay?
Oh, that half. That half, because it's going to take him a long time collecting cans or doing whatever he does to come up with $2,800, $2,900,
Okay.
which is what we're talking about. Bottom line is, he was the one who could have killed himself, the passengers in the car. Instead of hitting a pole, he could have hit
But who made
someone crossing the street with their baby carriage
This was
instead
3
of a
o'clock
pole.
in the morning.
Hmm?
This was 3 o'clock in the morning.
So what? Are you trying to make an excuse for him?
No, I'm just saying that no
Don't
baby,
make
no one
any
in a baby
excuse for
carriage.
him.
I am not making an excuse. I
So
have
if
told
it wasn't
him.
a baby carriage, if it was somebody
But I
coming home
understand
from a
what you're
3
saying.
o'clock shift working that was crossing the street that he could have killed because he's an idiot.
Right, I understand that.
All right, good. So let's not make any excuses. I don't like excuses for one's children. When they do something stupid, you're supposed to say, my kid did something stupid.
And that's exactly what I'm saying, Your
Perfect.
Honor.
Then he's going to
But
pay
I'm also
half.
saying that I feel that my son was a minor at the time. Her son was over 18. Yes, I am responsible for my child. Her son, who was working at the time, is responsible for himself.
Right.
Now, she sent me a letter saying that to split the difference. I sent her a letter back saying, because I feel that you are at fault as well as your son and the other gentleman in the car, I feel that the greatest burden should be paid by her and the 3 boys should split the remaining difference.
I see it differently. I see it big time differently, and I'm going to tell you why. But for the actions of your son, it is possible that that car would not have been driven that night. He didn't have to take the keys to the car and drive it. He could have said, I'm going back in the house and calling my mother and having her come and pick me up because I'm not going to drive this car while I'm drunk. If they want to act like fools and drive the car, that's none of my business. Then you wouldn't be standing here
Exactly.
today.
Also-
No, just a second. They're 2 idiots.
I agree with that. And the
All
mother
right.
is an idiot as well.
Excuse me?
I'm saying, had she not commended him her undermining what I'm teaching my child by saying, yes, Jamal, you did a good thing driving my son home when he was drunk. Maybe he wouldn't have drove this time. I'm not making an excuse, but I'm saying...
You are making an excuse, madam.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Like I said, this is all fine to me. There's no person in this world like me. I can overcome anything in this world at all, anything.
And later today,
Tom had been consenting to drinking and driving.
Mr. Jackson, you were blotto drunk.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Miss Martin, she said to you in her letter, split the difference with me because I am prepared to accept part of the responsibility for giving my son the car. She didn't say to you, your son was driving, therefore he's got to pay the difference. She said, I'm prepared to split the difference with you. That's assuming, on her part, a certain responsibility for allowing her idiot to drive the car in the first place. Come on, get it together, madam. $2,900. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
The money, that's not nothing. I'm still going to live out my dreams to become the richest person in 5 years. So, I mean, it doesn't matter. Like I said, this is all funny to me. They can get their money all they want to. But once they see me what I become in the future, I mean, they're going to feel bad because they're not a part of it.
Well, there's somebody lying big time.
Yeah, must be, because that's what he said.
And it sure ain't me lying either.
And now the next case.
All parties on Heasley versus Jackson, step forward, please.
Tom Heasley is suing his former friend, Clark Jackson, for wrecking his truck during a drunken camping trip. Clark says Tom encouraged him to drive while intoxicated and should share the blame for the accident.
Mr. Heasley, you and a few friends, including the defendant, went on a fishing vacation. Now, tell me about this fishing vacation. Who went on the fishing vacation?
Jesse Mobley, who's my witness, I went, and Clark Jackson went. We decided to go up to Rock Creek Lake to do some trout fishing to celebrate Jesse's wife being pregnant. So
Just a second. A bunch of guys went fishing to celebrate his wife being pregnant?
He had the choice of what we were going to do.
What's your name?
Jesse Mobley.
You must have a very understanding wife, Jesse.
Oh, yeah.
Lucky you. So you went trout fishing, got some liquor?
We brought up some beer. Clark purchased a pony keg to bring up for the second night.
Pony keg?
Yeah, 5 gallons of alcohol for our last night there.
Mr. Heasley, let's get to the truth of it. Everybody was pretty drunk, and he took your truck.
The night he took my trunk, all of us had a decent amount of alcohol.
Okay. Now, how did you get behind the wheel of this truck? Tell me about it.
Well, Your Honor, we had gone up to the store the night before and gotten some firewood, and we went back to the campsite that night, and we drank a couple more beers, and we started a campfire. I went to sleep, and they burned all the firewood that night, 5 bundles of firewood. The next night, I went to go light another fire, and I realized there wasn't any firewood, and I said, well, I'll go get some. Tom, you want to go with me? And he said, no, I don't want to go. I asked Jesse. Jesse said, no, he doesn't want to go. So I said, okay, fine. I'll go get it myself.
And you had been drinking?
Yes, I had. It was a bad judgment error, and...
Is that what happened?
Not even close.
So tell me your version of what happened.
Clark jumped in the truck without permission before Jesse and I could protest from the back of the campsite, said, I'm going to the store, jumped in, and was gone. And I waited. This was a night where he had drank quite a bit. We all had, but none of us, Jesse and I were not anywhere near as drunk as Clark was. We weren't stumbling around the campsite. We weren't driving.
Okay, so he jumped in the car. And then when was the next time you saw him?
The next time I saw him was when I decided to put on my jacket and walk up to the store because he'd been gone for an hour and a half. I met the highway patrol coming down. It's documented here. They said, Tom, your truck has been totaled. We're taking Clark down for DUI.
Which they did?
Which they did.
Now, tell me about this truck that you have. How old is it?
It's an 88 Ford Bronco. I just purchased it for $4,900.
You have proof of the purchase price of this truck for me?
Yes.
Can I have it, please?
Now, Mr. Jackson, while I'm looking at that, sir, why do you feel as if you're not responsible for his truck?
Basically, Your Honor, previously, well, the entire trip up there, Tom had been consenting to drinking and driving. Everywhere we went, we were drinking. On the way up there, Tom was sitting in the back seat of the Bronco handing us the alcohol.
How old are you, sir?
I am 22.
Not true.
There comes a point, sir, that you have to be totally and completely responsible for what you do.
Yes, ma'am, I do understand that. But he did give me consent earlier that day by saying, you are welcome to drive my truck anytime this weekend. You are a very good driver. I know you can handle it.
Mr. Jackson, you were blotto drunk.
Yes, ma'am, I do understand that.
You mean you think he should have said to you, you have permission to drive my truck unless you blotto drunk?
Your Honor, there was never a point in time where that drinking and driving was an issue.
Well, it was an issue when you wrecked his truck.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. 28-year-old Tom Heasley says while on a camping trip with his buddies, Clark Jackson wrecked his truck.
You destroyed his truck. Were you able to salvage any part of it?
None of all the salvage fees went for the tow fee, $1,000 to have it towed out of the canyon. Where
And you
Clark
had no
parked it.
insurance?
Just minimal insurance.
What kind of, what's minimal? Look at me, sir.
Okay,
What kind of minimal insurance?
Just theft and collision.
Did your insurance pay anything towards the car, is what I want to know.
Not a dime. I did not receive a dime.
What was your blood alcohol on that day, sir?
Ma'am, it was .14.
So did you plead guilty to DUI?
I am in the process, yes.
Okay. Easy. Don't drink and drive.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you're 22 years old and old enough to get behind the wheel of a car, that you have to know. Don't blame anybody else. It's nobody else's fault but yours. You get behind the wheel of a car and you're drunk, you're just lucky you didn't kill yourself or, more importantly, somebody else.
Yes,
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,900. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Judges number 278 on the calendar in the matter of Atkinson versus Cope. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
How old are you?
25.
Did you know how old she was when you started to date her?
Yes.
How old was she?
15.
And you were 23?
Yes, ma'am.
That's very dumb.
It's a lesson well learned.
Because in addition to everything else, it's a felony. Right?
Yes.
Now, Miss Atkinson, this is your mother?
Mm-hmm.
You're 17 now.
Yes, I am.
So this suit was really filed by you on behalf of your daughter. You say that you loaned him money.
Loaned him $2,000.
For what?
Repairs on his pickup truck. Bills that I paid for him.
Like what?
Gas and power. Very, very, very often, he would take me to the bank to get $20 out so he could get back and forth to work for a night. I have a copy of all my bank receipts for the time that we were dating.
Where did you meet him?
He is an old friend of mine's boyfriend's brother.
Yeah.
And we were just introduced one day, and we were friends for about 5 months, and then it went from there.
Did your mother know that you were dating him?
Yes, she did.
Did you think it was a good idea?
He wasn't like a normal 23-year-old. He was more like a 19-year-old. Seemed, and they were friends first.
That's not unusual. So he's 23 going on 19. And your daughter was 15 going on 16.
Yeah.
So you didn't think it was so terrible. Yeah. Did you know that they were intimate?
Not for a long time, no.
So you took some money from her?
The loan was offered to me. What I did borrow from her, yes. Didn't take.
Well, tell me.
It was offered.
Right. And you took it?
It was offered
It
as
was
a loan.
offered several times, and I did take it. Yes, I borrowed, yes.
Why?
Not $2,000.
How much?
$800.
Well, $800 in one lump sum.
Yes, ma'am.
We're talking about little bits at a time.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
All the withdrawals listed on there, there's only, I think, one deposit that I made for my birthday on April 8th. All the rest of the withdrawals were not from me personally using the money, but from him using the money.
You mean using it to go out on a date, maybe?
No, to take it and pay his bills, or to, for instance, I bought him a differential. He needed a differential. I loaned him the $150 as a deposit down on the differential for his...
Does that sound familiar?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I've been self-sufficient since I was 18 years old. I paid all my bills. No. And no, she did not pay no gas, power, or electric bill. She loaned me, which was offered, $800, which I paid back. Now, I don't know where she comes up with this, no.
How much did you have in this account when you started dating?
To start out with, $2,200.
And prior to dating him, had you taken any money out of that account?
No, that account was saved up. I've been saving that money since I was 6 years old to go and buy a car when I was 16 or to go to college.
So what you're telling me is there were no withdrawals made from that account?
None. Zero.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Step up here, please, with your daughter. When did you find out that she was helping him out with money?
The first time I found out about it was his ex-girlfriend left a message on our answering machine telling Kelly that she would never get her $2,000 back, and a few other things she left on. And that was the first time I realized, uh-oh, she's really done it. She's given him some money. And I was afraid she wasn't going to get it back.
And when Mom confronted me, I did lie to her because I was trying to protect him.
When did you break up with him?
When? At the end of August.
Why?
He put his boot through the window of my parents' truck, kicked me in the face with it.
Why?
Lots of fights. We were in the middle of another fight, and it ended up in a domestic dispute.
Did you call the police?
Yes, I did.
In addition to the $2,000 that you say you took out of your account and gave to him, you're suing for $5,000 and the other for medical bills. For what?
During the time that we were together, I contracted a venereal disease, a virus called HPV. There's a letter from my doctor and bills, my medical bills for the last year.
Did you have sexual relations with anyone other than him during this period of time?
No.
What are you laughing about? Why is that a funny question?
No? Just like that? No? No.
Well, if you have some information that she had sexual relations with somebody else, I'll hear you, sir.
She had a sexual relationship with a very close friend of mine.
When?
When? During the time that we were dating. Okay? The money that she loaned me, the $800, okay, yes, I did pay back. This was a doorway to open the account, and once the money had started being removed, the $800 that was loaned to me, then she went ahead and removed more money. Okay, whenever I caught up to this, and I confronted her about this, you know, spending money to go here, go there, I said, Kelly, you can't do that. That's not right.
Show me proof that you paid back the $800.
Show me proof that I borrowed $2,000.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When you fool around with jail bait, you sort of accept the consequences of that, sir.
And later today...
You're not a man. You're a little weasel.
Because
your whole family.
Just go. Put him away for 20 years. So.
You know what? You're all going to jail.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kelly Atkinson is suing her former boyfriend, Daniel Cope, for money he took when they were dating. She also claims Daniel gave her a sexually transmitted disease and wants him to pay for her medical bills.
Now, you answered one question that I posed to you, sir, with a different answer. I asked you how you knew that she was having sexual relations with somebody else at the same time she was having sexual relations with you. And you are telling me about $800.
How do I know?
Yes.
Because I drove over to my buddy's house. That's where she'd done spent the night instead of over at my house like she told her mother.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I caught them.
You caught them what?
I caught them in the house. Half dressed.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No, it does not.
Well, would you tell me what he's talking about if you
I
know?
have no idea.
Well, tell me about it, sir.
What do you want to know about it?
She was supposed to be spending the night with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And?
And?
She wasn't there?
She was not there.
So you went looking for her?
I went looking for her, yes.
Well, I'm making this very easy for you.
Well, thank you.
Good. How much are your medical bills?
So far out of pocket is $895. And I'm going to need many more.
Well, you know, you're partially responsible, madam. So's your mother. In my judgment. You said it. He was 23, going on 19. Probably more like 15. So, he's no genius. Your daughter is 15, going on 16, and clearly she's no genius. You're supposed to be smart enough to put your foot down and say, I don't want you to see this guy because he's too old for you, and I don't think it's appropriate at your age. At age 15, to be dating somebody who's 23 is not appropriate. Maybe when you're 30 and he's 38, it's a different story. But right now, it's not appropriate. That's your job as a mother.
Okay, now whenever Mom did find out about his age and how much we were hanging out together, I was lying to her, again, to try to protect him.
Your mother still says she knew very well that you were dating him and that she gave her tacit approval because she felt that he was immature enough to be almost a contemporary of yours.
And I trusted
Which is
them.
a kind way of saying it.
Very kind.
Very kind. So you bear part of this responsibility. You know. Have you had yourself tested, sir?
I had myself tested, yes.
Good. Do you have the results of the test?
I have what they mail me is a card that says you're okay, fine, that you don't need to call us, you don't need to contact us, that you don't need to come in.
Let me see.
Okay, this does not say nothing, but it's a mailer, all right?
Well, it doesn't say anything. What are you giving it to me for?
That's the only thing that I do have. Okay, if otherwise I'd have been notified, say, you know, I'd have gotten a phone call saying, come in, we need to discuss this.
What made you go here for blood tests, sir?
Because I started a new relationship, and I wanted to get tested. I wanted to make sure that, you know, before I have an intimate relationship with anybody, that I do not have a problem.
Well, this is interesting because this was just done in October.
Yes, ma'am, I have a new relationship.
I heard that already. You sound like a broken record. But you stopped seeing her in August, right?
A year ago.
A year
ago.
Right.
Right, so this doesn't tell me anything because I don't know whether you were tested a year ago and were treated during the course of that year for anything. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She'd been having sex for long before I come around.
And later today,
You're a lying scumbag. Your whole family is that way. Your dad's constantly bails you out. Your whole family is that way.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kelly Atkinson is suing her former boyfriend, Daniel Cope, claiming he gave her a sexually transmitted disease. Daniel says he knows nothing about it.
Mr. Cope, nobody is blameless in this situation. Unfortunately, you are the legal adult and she is the legal minor. And when you fool around with what we used to call, when I was a child, jailbait, you sort of accept the consequences of that, sir. You took out this money. This was your money supposedly for a car,
For
correct?
a car or college, whichever I decided that was
Whatever.
more important at the time.
And so far you have medical bills in the amount of $895. I'm giving you a judgment in the amount of $2,895. I'm saying the following to you. You started off your life wrong. You're supposed to be smarter.
Mm-hmm.
You're 17 years old. Your mother is supposed to be smarter. Your mother is supposed to be protective. And as far as I'm concerned, this 15-year-old shouldn't have unfettered control over a substantial bank account. It's her money, but she's still a kid.
Right.
Fortunately, what was coming out wasn't money to buy drugs or other things, but it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be very, very careful and very vigilant as a parent these days. I assume your new girlfriend is over the age of 18.
Yes.
Great. That's all.
All right, as I excuse, you may step out. Back there to your right, please.
And I thought maybe they'd be good for each other. Maybe she'd help him grow up a little bit, and he'd help her grow up a little bit.
And now the next case.
Party's on Lewis versus Lewis. Step forward, please.
Secretary Royce Lewis is suing her 19-year-old stepson, Daniel Lewis, for money she loaned him to buy a stereo when he was 16.
Okay, so that we understand who the cast of characters are in this case, this is your stepson.
Yes.
This is your biological son.
Yes.
Are you still married to his father?
Separated.
Married but separated.
Right.
Well, a couple of years ago, while you were probably all living together, correct?
Yes.
According to this, you made a loan to these two boys.
Yes.
To go out and buy some stereo equipment. At that time, he was 16.
Yes.
And it was your agreement that when he turned 18, he would pay you back.
Yes.
Turned 18?
Yeah.
What happened?
He never paid me back. The agreement was that when he turned 18, and I didn't ask for interest or anything, and before I gave them both the money, which was cash, I said, this is with the understanding that when you each turn 18 and get your money from your trust account, that you will pay me back the money that I've loaned you. And they both said yes. I said, then go get stereos for your car.
So you got a stereo for your car,
Yes, I did.
and you got one for your car.
Correct.
When did you separate from his father?
About 2.5, maybe 3 months ago.
And it was after that that you filed this lawsuit?
Right. I told him I was going to the time we were together, and he said I couldn't because he's a pastor of a church and it's his son, and I wasn't allowed to. I said he owes me the money and he's not paying it, and you're not doing anything to get it.
Well, but the marriage was already on.
Right.
Going.
No, actually, no, it wasn't.
Well,
But
then I'm going to tell you something. If you threaten to sue your
Well, no,
husband's son, that's a good time for marriage to start to go south.
Well, I didn't threaten immediately. I said, somehow something has to happen here. It's not right that he's getting away with all this.
Okay.
Okay. Our agreement, basically there was no agreement. She came up to, I did not ask for the money. I did not ask for anything from her. Me and James were both outside one day. She came right in front of our door. She walked down the stairs and was asking us if we had car stereos and how they worked and all this stuff. And she says, well, do you guys want to go down and get new CD players? And of course, I'm 16 years old. You know, I would love to have a new CD player for my car. So she gave us a blank check, said she told us how much we could spend. Me and James went down, got the same exact CD player. I came home, installed it in my car. Later that night, sitting in my room, she walked through the door and then told me that when I was 18, I could pay her back because I was getting my settlement. Okay?
So what did you say to her at that point?
Actually, I never said anything. I never actually said, okay, yes, I will do this, yes, I won't. But the thing is also, even if I had agreed to that, I moved up to Sacramento shortly before I turned 18. When I turned 18, I never heard nothing. To this very day, she has never verbally asked me for that money.
That is a total lie. His dad has talked himself.
Not since.
Not talking about his dad. He said to you.
My dad left her 2 months ago, and that is when this is happening. And she's suing 4 of my dad's friends.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have fun in jail because that's where you're going.
Miss Lewis, a minor cannot make a contract. When he was 16 years old, he could not have entered into a contract, either oral or written, with you for anything. And there are times when, if you enter into an agreement when you're a minor, and if you ratify it later when you turn 18 or 21, depending upon the jurisdiction, then it can become enforceable. But he did not do that. He did not ratify it when he became 18. You cannot make a contract with a minor who is 16 and expect it to be enforced in a court. This lawsuit is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. At the back. Judges number 179 on the calendar, the matter of Ramos versus Taylor.
I care, Bird.
Okay. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
All right, Miss Ramos, for some reason that I don't understand that you're going to tell me, you lent this man some money.
Yes, ma'am.
You say you have a note to prove it.
Yes, I do.
He says he paid you.
No, he hasn't.
And that he can prove it. So first, Miss Ramos, you want to tell me why you lent him money in the first place, how much you lent him, and when he was supposed to pay you back.
I loaned him $700.
When?
This was in May.
Why?
I felt sorry for him.
Why?
Because he told me that he needed money to pay rent.
Well, how long had you known him before you gave him the $700?
I met him earlier that month.
Where?
At a bar.
Did you, other than just meeting him at the bar, did you become friends? Did you date?
Yes, friends.
Just friends? Mm-hmm. From the time you met him at the bar until the time you gave him the $700, how many times did you see him?
Quite a few times.
2 times, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times?
Probably about 10 times.
Where did you see him? I'm trying to figure out why you would lend him $700.
Where did I see him?
Yeah.
I would call him, and then we made arrangements to for my mortgage loan.
Is that your business, sir?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
You're a mortgage broker?
Yes, I am.
How long have you been a mortgage broker?
2.5 years.
How many mortgages have you brokered?
Probably, on an estimate, if the market's doing good, about 10 to 15 a month, if I'm lucky.
And you've been lucky?
Yeah.
Yeah? So what'd you need $700 for from her?
Well, what happened, basically, is I met her and a friend at a bar, okay? I was talking to the friend at first, and then I told her, I said, I'm not going to be disrespectful. I'd like to talk to you, but no dice. Well, this continued. We called each other for lunch. We've seen each other for lunch, and she's kicking it with me and everything. And
she's what?
She's hanging out with me. You know, we went to lunch together. We were sitting there talking.
Did you say she's kicking it with you?
Yeah, that's just what she's doing. So, you know, to make a long story short, we got to talking about some personal things, and we made an agreement. She said she didn't have to go back to work. We went to the house. We spent the night with each other. Okay, it's not 10 or 15 times. She's at my house every day. She took me to work every day. So what was happening is during this time, I left one company to start another one. They were having some problems with their payroll, so I asked her to do me a favor. She did it, and I said, no problem, I would pay her back. She's saying I never gave her any money. I did give her a form of $200 in cash when they had paid me. Okay, during this time...
Prove it.
Oh, well... You know, she knows I gave it to her, and I'm not going to fight that. But during this time, I made an agreement with her. I told her, I said, well, Diana, check this out. I have a compensation agreement. I could lower my fees and what I'm going to charge you for the loan. And if you take that form of payment that way, you know, then I won't owe you anything. She agreed to it, okay? Then the holiday kicked off. 4th of July, she calls me up, 911 on my pager. I call her back. So she's telling me that her daughter... okay, who was leaving to go to San Antonio, had told her boyfriend about us and everything. So the boyfriend's on the phone, and he's raising sand and this, that, and the other. So I asked her, you know,
kicking in.
Basically.
Just a second, let me get this. I like to learn something new every day, sir. Kicking in
Kicking it.
Kicking it. Kicking it. And raising sand.
Yeah.
Raising sand. In English.
In other words, he's being very hostile.
Order.
Okay? He's being very hostile about this situation that he's been told about me and her being together and sleeping with each other. So I asked her, what do you want me to do? And she said, well, I don't want you to tell him. I said, you know that's going to cost you. Okay, she agreed to it. I said, you know that's going to cost you to keep my mouth shut because I was getting tired of being the number 2 guy.
Let me try to understand this in English. You say that the loan that she made to you of $700 was forgiven by her because you agreed to, just don't shake your head anything, I'm just trying to understand this, because you agreed to keep your mouth shut and not tell her boyfriend that you had slept with her.
Exactly.
Exactly! Mr. Taylor, kicking it, I didn't understand. Raising sand?
Raising sand.
Raising sand, I don't understand. But I want to ask you if you understand the following phrase. Did you ever hear this phrase? Blackmail.
No, I wasn't blackmailing her. Not at all, because she asked me not to tell him. When she called me, I asked her what was this about. She said, Jennifer told John
Gotcha, I understand
what's going
that.
on. Okay, so I wasn't blackmailing anyone.
Somebody told the boyfriend, according to you, I'm not even going to ask you if this is true, but somebody told the boyfriend, she asked you not to confirm that with the boyfriend.
Yeah.
And you said, I'll do it. I'll tell him it's not true if you forgive this loan.
It wasn't in part of the loan. When I said you're going to pay for that, it had nothing to do with
Well,
with
I
the
don't
loan
understand. What is
part
the
of
pay? You're going to pay for this. What did that mean?
In other words, what I meant to her, she was going to pay for it, is that we were going to have a long talk about me having to, bow down and not tell him what really was going on. Because the thing about it was, I felt like I was going to pay for it because when I seen him...
Just a second, Mr. Taylor. Were you hurt and offended, sir?
Yeah, I was.
Were you mortally wounded?
No.
No. You don't look as if you were mortally wounded, sir.
Oh, I wasn't?
It doesn't appear to me as if you were mortally wounded, sir. So let me understand this. You had, according to you, an evening of frolic with the plaintiff.
It was more than an evening.
Let's say 2 evenings. Let's
No,
say 5 evenings.
every night for the last
Every
3
night.
weeks.
You had every night of frolic with the plaintiff.
Yeah.
And she had every night of frolic with you.
There you go.
Good. And you have her $700.
No. Wrong.
Oh, yeah?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He wanted a relationship with me. I didn't want anything to do with him.
You're right. It takes 2 to tango. She had to do something.
And later today,
I don't think that it's right for anybody to slash anybody's tires. So if you did that, that was really, really wrong. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Very, very bad.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mortgage broker Mark Taylor claims Diana Ramos is angry that he broke off their secret affair. Diana says she just wants her money back.
Did he give you the $200?
No.
Did he give you any money?
Yes.
How much?
100.
Okay. Could you prove that you gave her more than $100, sir?
No, because at the
All
time...
right, so let's say you now owe her $600.
That's not what the case was.
Just a second. How much money did you pay her back?
I gave her $100 in cash, and then I gave her on 2 occasions $50. So it's totaling to $200, and she knows it because she took me to cash the checks when I gave it to her.
Assuming that that's true, that you gave her $200, where's the other $5?
I agreed to, as a part of this mortgage loan, because I have a compensation agreement on her, as well as a good faith estimate that was provided, and a mortgage origination statement. And I said, look, I'll deduct the difference of the money of what I owe you off the fees. I didn't hear anything else about it.
Did you agree to it? Did you agree to that?
No.
Did you buy this house?
No.
She's still
You didn't buy the house?
No, I didn't agree to anything.
Well, so what did she get from it, sir?
It's to be determined.
Just a
Your
second.
Honor.
She didn't buy the house.
She didn't use the mortgage.
She's still pending. It's to be determined. She was purchasing a new home. All I was doing was creating the financing. She knew that she needed to go out and find a home. And I have the compensation agreement that's still good on you to the 3rd of October right here, that this is what was going to be performed up until those calendar days.
Right now, she didn't do anything. She didn't agree to anything. You owe her the money, sir. Did you ever hear the expression? You heard kicking it? Mm-hmm. Sanding, what? Sanding?
Raising sand.
Raising sand, right?
Did you ever hear,
don't mix business with pleasure?
Of course.
Did you ever hear that? So, don't mix business with pleasure, sir. You borrowed money from somebody as a friend because you were between paychecks. Mm-hmm. And then you wanted to have a sort of work it off on this thing, on this agreement that you had.
I told her she could take that or I would pay her back. And even on the promissory note, asked her to provide a promissory note to you because I told her that if I didn't agree to pay her by the 17th of July, that we would make arrangements to have it settled. I did not hear from Mrs. Ramos the next day.
You acknowledged, sir, that you had to sign a promissory note.
Right. But
that you signed it. Let me see the note.
She has it.
Let me see the note, please. You were supposed to pay her, sir, half by the 17th of July. Did you pay her half?
Correct. No.
Good. Then you defaulted.
That's because she had made other arrangements with me prior to that date.
I don't believe you.
Okay. Well,
I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Then when I was served the paper, she documented on there that she failed to call me. That is not what the case was. She called my place of employment and personally put this through someone else. I called her place of employment, told them, look, we're having a personal problem over something. I would like for her
not a personal problem, sir. She lent you $700. You were supposed to pay for it 2.5 months ago. You didn't pay for it. And then you started to do a tap dance. A, you said, I won't tell your boyfriend, but it's going to cost you.
No, that wasn't
that's according to you. You said that 2 seconds ago, sir.
Yeah.
B, we'll work it out in this deal. I'll take less in my commission. I'll take less in my commission than I would ordinarily charge you, and we'll call it even. As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Taylor, if a friend lends you $700 in your time of need, you ought to do this mortgage agreement for no commission.
No.
No, listen to me, sir. For nothing. If you were in a bind, if you were in a bind, as you were, I'm sure that you wouldn't go and ask this lady for money if you weren't really in a bind. And she helped you.
That's not how that went off.
It would seem to me, that's what you said. You said I was between checks and I needed some help.
She volunteered to do it.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. Get him out of here.
Parties are excused.
Yeah.
Step out.
You got your money back, but you know you was doing me and doing John at the same time. Ask him. Bring him down here. He'll tell you. John, if you get to see this, buddy, like I told you in Texaco, been there, done that, got the T-shirt. Have a good one.
And now the next case.
All parties on Taylor versus Lee. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Crystal Taylor is suing her ex-boyfriend, Fred Lee, because he didn't pay his phone bill. He says Crystal slashed his tires.
This used to be your boyfriend.
Yes, it did.
That's past tense.
Yes, it's past.
Your complaint says you let him put a phone in your name.
Yes.
Big mistake.
I know now.
He didn't pay the bill?
No, he didn't. He didn't pay a couple of bills.
And the total on that phone is now?
$967 and some change.
And you say?
I intended on paying the phone bill, but she came up to my job and slashed 3 of my tires. Mm-hmm. So that's when I decided not to pay the bill, because the three tires that she slashed, the 3 tires that she slashed came up to $340 a piece, which was over $1,200.
I read that in your answer, that you paid $350 a piece for tires.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you get some cheaper ones?
Hey, don't speak to him.
Okay.
Bird, I haven't bought tires in a while, and I know about inflation. Did you ever hear of tires that cost $350 a piece?
Not on any vehicle I've ever driven.
What kind of car is it that you drive, sir?
An Acura Legend Coupe. A very expensive car. And the wheels are very expensive too.
You mean, when did you buy these tires, sir?
May 6th.
Why didn't you pay the phone bill instead of buying the tires?
Exactly.
Shut! Hey!
Okay.
Do I look like I need help? I would suggest you be quiet.
Okay, I'm sorry.
If you're winning, you're supposed to be quiet.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
If you owe somebody, you can find yourself a 1965 VW Bug with $50 tires and make sure that your obligations are paid for.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 19-year-old Crystal Taylor is suing her ex-boyfriend Fred Lee because he didn't pay his phone bill. He says Crystal slashed his tires.
Why didn't you pay the phone bill instead of buying $350 tires for your Acura?
The phone bill wasn't due at that time.
Yeah, oh.
When the phone bill came...
No, just a second. The phone bill was over an extended period of time, Mr. Lee. Are you telling me that you paid the phone bill each month and that it was 1 month that it was $967?
No, actually it was...
Let me see the phone bills. How many times did you pay the phone bill, sir?
I paid the phone bill a couple of times.
How many is a couple?
I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times.
Let me see proof
I don't
of
have
it.
exact
Let me
proof.
see you. Let
I
me
don't
see your
have
proof.
at all.
All right.
Basically, I went tit for tat. The bill came, she slashed my tires. I felt we were even.
Let me explain something to you, sir.
Okay.
Let's talk about her bill, her April bill.
Okay.
The prior balance that you owed in April was $80.
Yeah.
Then you had a Pacific Bell charge for $355.21. That's in April. In June, sir, the current charges on your phone were $163.
Okay.
But the total due was $967.90, with a prior unpaid balance of $804.58. So it doesn't look to me as if you ever paid this bill. Ever. Now, you never paid the bill.
I was gonna pay the bill.
Listen, did you ever hear the expression, shoulda, woulda, coulda?
Yeah.
I should have done that. I
She
could have
shouldn't have
done
slashed
it.
my tires.
Just a second. Just a second. Did you see her slash your tires?
I have a witness. but
Did
he-
you see her slash your tires?
I was at work.
Good.
Doing my job.
Listen, I don't think that it's right for anybody to slash anybody's tires.
Especially at the amount that I paid.
Absolutely right. Now, because that would be, if you did that, if you did that, shut.
She did.
If you did that, it would be taking the law in your own hands.
Which she
Do you
did.
Hey. So if you did that, that was really, really wrong to slash his $350 a piece tires that he bought instead of paying the phone bill, which is in your name. That would have been a very, very bad thing to do. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Very, very bad. But he doesn't have any proof that you did that. He thinks that you did that, but he doesn't have any proof.
Why would I tell you I slashed your tires?
You told me.
I didn't tell you that.
I don't believe
and
that.
We're not in court for them tires. We're not in court for that.
Miss Taylor,
You will be.
if you open your
won't.
mouth again, you're going to be a very unhappy person.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
It was very bad of you to buy 3 new tires when you had this outstanding bill, sir.
I had to drive my car. I had to get back and forth to work.
Oh.
I had to buy them.
Well, I want to tell you something, sir. I guarantee you, whatever work you do, I make more money than you do, and I don't drive an Acura with $350 a piece tires. So if you owe somebody for a phone bill that's in their name, you can find yourself a 1965 VW Bug, drive it around, right, with $50 tires, and make sure that your obligations are paid for. The judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $967. Thank you very much. That's
Parties are excused. You know, please all rise. Now, this is case number 274 on the calendar in the matter of Asada versus Dacey. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat.
Well, I have really two complaints here. One is your complaint, sir, against her. You're suing her because you say she purposely kicked your car, causing damage to it.
Yes.
And I have your complaint against him for several $1,000s. I think you're suing for $3,000 because you say he assaulted you.
Yes.
From what I gather from these papers, you two children have a child.
Yes.
And how old is this child?
She's 16 months.
How old are you?
23.
And how old were you when you had this baby?
Oh, it was right after my 16th birthday.
Were you
Or
living
right
at
after my 17th birthday. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Were you living at home then?
I was living with him, and then like about 2 weeks before I had the baby, I was getting no support from him, so I moved back in with my mom to get some support. Then right after I had the baby, then I moved back in with him.
You live at home?
Yes, I moved back there about 4 months ago.
So you live with your mother?
Yes.
And father?
No.
Just with your mother?
Yes.
Actually, I took responsibility for her for 3 years when her mother didn't want responsibility of her anymore, gave up custody of her, and I basically took her in for 3 years. When she was 9 months pregnant, her mother said that she didn't want her to move back home. She said that there was shelters out there that would take care of a teenage mother.
What'd you have problems with your mom about?
Just normal, rebellious. I wanted to go out. She wanted me.
You have a
not
drug
go out.
problem?
No.
Never?
No.
You hesitated for a minute.
I have done, yes, I have done drugs before in the past.
Know that. And you, sir?
Drug problem? No.
Yeah. Have you done any drugs?
No.
Was she doing drugs when she was living with you?
Yes, she was smoking marijuana.
Mm-hmm. What about when she was pregnant?
I don't believe so. Not that I can remember.
What
no.
about after the baby was born?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, you separated, and then this incident occurred with your car. You want to tell me your version of it, sir?
Well, I was going to pick up a friend which lives close by to where she lives. And on the way back, we happened to see her walking with my daughter. So I stopped to, see my daughter. And
What time was this, sir?
It was about 9:45 p.m. She lives in a kind of a bad neighborhood. I was concerned for the welfare of my child. She said that she never walks the baby at that time, but obviously she does. When she came over to us, she asked us where we were going. I said we were going to go out. And she spit on us. She spit on me and him through my car window.
Let's take this step by step. And I want you to understand something. I'm very, very smart.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they keep me here. Not because I'm gorgeous. Right, Bird?
Well, that's a good enough reason, Judge.
I stopped my car. She came over to where my car was. I opened the door to the car, got out, saw my daughter.
What did you say to her?
I said, "What are you doing with the baby out at this time at night?"
And what? Okay, so right away we got a problem. You're saying to her, what are you doing outside with the baby? And what did she say to you?
She said that she was going to call me at a payphone across the street.
That was her answer?
Mm-hmm.
So far, is that correct?
No.
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 So then what happened?
So then after I, said goodbye to my daughter, I tried to leave. I got into my car. She put the baby stroller in front of my car door so I could not shut it. So I calmly got out and, moved the stroller away, shut my door. She said, "Where are you going?" Going out. She spit on us. And then when I was pulling out, she started kicking my car.
What kind of car was this?
It's a Chevy Cavalier.
Okay, and I assume you have pictures to show me.
Yes.
Could I see them, please?
I also have an estimate.
I'll see that too. Okay. Now let's hear your version of the events and what you say happened on that evening.
Okay, normally I don't take my daughter out that late, but she was still up. I was going to get a treat for us from the store, about 200 feet from my apartment door to the Circle K across the street, okay? Walked to the store, got my things, was halfway across the street from the store and my apartment complex when I see him drive by. He makes a U-turn, turns into my apartment complex, and gets out and says, "What are you doing with my daughter out this late?" Blah, blah, blah. Just starts totally harassing me. Yeah, I said, "I'm not doing this in front of my daughter." So I start walking away. That's when he grabs me by my hair. I didn't know he was coming, you know, because it was all quiet. He just grabs me by my hair and proceeds to just grab me by my arm, like kind of drag me on the ground. I skinned my knee. Then I got up, started to leave again. He kicks me in the stomach. I lose my wind, you know, I gather myself up, and then by then I grab the stroller, start running from my apartment. I yell back, "I am calling the police, you're not getting away with this one." He yells, "I have 2 witnesses that say I didn't touch you." Okay, the whole time this was happening, this guy over here sitting in the chair, he was laughing. He sees a girl getting beat up, he's laughing, okay?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm telling you, the only one that I feel sorry for in this situation is this 18-month-old baby who happens to have 2 morons for parents.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Scott Azada is suing the mother of his child, 18-year-old Karen Dacey, claiming she kicked and damaged his car during an argument. Karen says Scott is abusive towards her and denies kicking his car.
So did you go up and call the police?
Yes, my mom was just going to bed, whatever. She said, you know, "Karen, you know, I really don't want to deal with this tonight." So she asked me to make the phone call from across the street at the Circle K. I have a police report. They came out and...
You mean your mother told you, "Don't call from my house, go across the street"? Is that what your mother told you? I'm asking you a question. Your mother told you, "Don't call from the house."
She didn't say don't. I could. She didn't... I told her I was going to call across the street. No, she didn't say. She was just saying, you know, why do we have to deal with this? Why does this always have to happen? You know, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, just, you know, I was mad. I was like, just forget about it. I'll just call from across the street. I just don't want to bring her into any more. I've had so many problems with him. Everybody has to witness it around me. That's why she's here. I lost my job because she didn't want to witness this anymore. Yes.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Teresa Garner.
You said she was your nanny for a while. Do you mean she was your babysitter?
She was a babysitter. I have 3 children. I met Karen through Scott. He used to work at the mall that we have a plant rental and maintenance company, and we did the plants. I met Scott there. After Michelle was born, she didn't want to go back to work at Panda Express, a little fast food place, so I gave her a job where she could have the baby there.
Where she could have the baby at your place of business?
Right, where she was taking care of my kids, she could have the baby. Several times, Your Honor, she's come over crying. I took the baby away from these 2 in one incident because they're fighting all the time in front of my house. I told him neither one of them could have the baby. When they were acting like that, he had her outside, was trying to push her in the car, same thing, pulling her hair, calling her names. The verbal abuse went on forever. Little codes on her beeper, 187, which I guess is murder or something, and all this other kind of junk.
Have you ever seen him put his hands on her?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Sit down.
Thank you.
May I say something?
Absolutely. Step up here. Tell me your name.
Kevin Meimersdorf. When this occurred that night, also when she was all trying to get him away from the car to tell him, like wanting to talk to him privately, and he was like, "No, I got these witnesses. You can say whatever you have to say right here by the car."
You think that that's helpful to him?
Well,
what you just told me?
Well, yeah. I'd like to say something.
You think that that's helpful?
Yeah.
I got a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
Where were you going?
We're going to my brother's house to pick him up.
Where does he live?
He lives on Chop and Boulder.
And how far is that from where the defendant lives?
I'd say maybe a quarter mile, if that.
Mm-hmm. And is there another way of getting there other than passing by the front of her apartment complex?
There is. Yes, there is. Yes,
Good.
there is.
So you could have gone a different route.
Right.
Who was driving?
He was.
So yet he chose to drive by her apartment complex. Right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And when he got out of the car, the first thing he said to her is, "What are you doing outside at 9:15 with the baby?"
Right.
But he didn't say it in that kind of tone, did he?
No. No. I mean, well, he just exactly the tone what you just said. What are
you
you
think
doing?
so? Is that what you remember, sir? Is that as true as everything else
Yes,
that you're going
ma'am.
to tell me today?
Yes,
That in a very calm tone, he said to her, "Why are you out with the baby at 9:15?" Is that the tone?
Well, it might have been a little bit, a little bit more higher than that. I mean, definitely.
Might
I mean,
have
not at a soft tone, but I mean, it's like, what are you doing at this late at night, basically at 9:30 at night, in this neighborhood?
And when he said that to her, sir, was there any profanity dotting his words? Like, did he say, "What the blank are you doing
No,
blank out at this blank hour"? Does that sound, ring a bell?
No, ma'am.
So far, I'm not getting the ring of truth from you, sir.
You're getting everything, all the truth.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Because it does, I mean, I'm not saying she's terrific.
Right.
Because I'm telling you, she's not terrific.
Right.
Right? And I'm telling you, the only one that I feel sorry for in this situation is this 18-month-old baby.
Right.
Who happens to have two morons for parents. Right? Her, because she doesn't know whether she's here or there or where she's going to be or what she's going to do or anything else. She's a baby. And you, who
Right.
enjoy a reasonable order of visitation from 2 in the afternoon till 8 o'clock at night, 4 days a week.
I haven't been able to enjoy it because I haven't been getting my visitation.
Well, then you go to court, sir, and you deal with it.
I am. I'm in the process of doing
Then
that.
then that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to go
I
around
didn't-
where she's living and confront her.
But that was not my main priority to go
I
over
didn't
there.
ask you whether it was your main priority. It shouldn't have been any priority. What you do is, if you've had periods of domestic violence and negative interaction with her, you stay away from her.
I've never, but she comes to my work also and harasses me there.
Just a second. I don't doubt that she does that.
And calls my house and comes by my house.
Listen to me. I don't doubt that she does that. Because I think she's a flake. I do.
She is.
I believe she's a flake. This lady knows she's a flake, right?
Young.
Young.
Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Flaky, young, too young to have to
That's
be
right.
responsible for an 18-month-old baby.
I agree.
There's no question about that. There is also no question in my mind, sir, that this evening wasn't as you have indicated to me, that you were just driving by to go pick up a friend and all of a sudden you saw her. You went by her apartment complex and it was the wrong thing to do.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If you've taken drugs in the last 6 to 9 months, the hair follicle test will establish it. And if you wish to go, we will make arrangements for you to go immediately.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Scott Azada claims the mother of his child, Karen Dacey, kicked his car. Karen says she has a restraining order because Scott is abusive.
Mr. Rizzuto, you play with fire, you're going to get burned. You screw around with a teenager and make a baby with her, and that doesn't mean that your life's going to be easy. It's going to be harder. You have a child, and if you think that she's incapable of taking care of this child, and you may be right, and you may be a more appropriate custodial parent, the way to deal with it is through the court, not in the street at 9:45.
I feel, I'm concerned about the welfare of my daughter. That is the main
Then,
priority
sir, you have
here.
to deal with that through the courts.
I've been dealing with it for 5 months and I haven't got one bit of satisfaction. I haven't even got a court date yet.
The court system didn't make you a baby. Judge didn't get in there that night. That's right. You did. And you were old enough to have known better.
Yes.
You were, in the eyes of the law, an adult. She was a minor, in the eyes of the law. So, when you went to the police, did they arrest him?
No, he was long gone.
And you, sir, did you make a police report?
No, I kind of just went home because I didn't want to deal with her anymore.
Did you ever pull her hair?
No.
Never?
No.
You mean she's lying when she says she saw you
Yep.
pull her hair?
She's also lying about her taking my child. She's never, I don't even trust her with my child over there because she smokes just as much dope as she does.
Can I say something in my defense? No,
I don't think she's capable of taking care of her own kids.
It's not necessary. It's not necessary. Well, I think that you two young people better decide that you're going to straighten up your lives because you made a baby, and the baby is the only innocent in this situation.
This is a picture of what looks exactly like a cigarette burn, or
And I've also...
Shh! Would you let her finish?
on my daughter. When she came home from visiting with him, I changed her diaper and into her pajamas right away, and I noticed this. He smokes, his whole family smokes, okay? And about the drugs and smoking, whatever, I have not even done any drugs since I've been with him. And the
Madam,
reason why
let me tell you something. A, he never burned your baby with a cigarette. Never happened. You could have a picture there, you could have 20 pictures there. I'm telling you, I've been in this business for a quarter of a century. This man never purposefully injured that child, nor did he permit anybody else to purposefully injure that child. Now, he may have done lots of negative things to you, but he never purposely hurt his daughter. So you may be able to convince some other family court judge or some other moron that he did with the picture that you're going to show him. But I'm telling you, he never purposely hurt your daughter.
How would you know that?
How would I know it? Because I'm very smart. And I'm smarter than you'll be if you live to be 500. And I'm also prepared to tell you that you do smoke dope, and you have smoked dope more recently than from the time you first met him. And if I sent you today to have a hair follicle test, I guarantee you that that hair follicle test would bear me out. And if you are willing to go, we will make the arrangements for you to go for a hair follicle test, because the hair follicle test will establish when the last time, if you've smoked drugs or taken drugs in the last 6 to 9 months, the hair follicle test will establish it. And if you wish to go, we will make arrangements for you to go immediately.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Would you like me to make the arrangements right now, and I can have a hair follicle test done right now?
All I have to say to that is, not unless he's getting one. This guy has done more than marijuana.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Why am I going to show something it was less than 6 months ago, because me and him only broke up 3.5 months ago. Why am I going to show what is wrong with me or whatever if this guy's sitting here, oh, I don't do drugs. This guy is the king of selling drugs, doing drugs, whatever.
Listen to me.
So why do we care about what I'm doing?
Why? There's a very easy answer to that question, madam. Because right now you are the primary custodial...
What I've done.
Hey! Right now you are the primary custodial parent of an 18-month-old child. That's why it's more important. And so I asked you a simple question. I said, do you want me to make arrangements for you to go for a hair follicle test? Your answer was no. Good. This is the judgment of the court. The judgment of the court is as follows. I am awarding the plaintiff $585 to fix his car. I am awarding the defendant $585 for the assault. That's a wash.
Of Grant versus Grant. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Tell me your first name.
Robin.
And yours?
Maria.
How old are you, Robin?
11.
Maria?
9.
This is your dad. That's your mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to talk to both of you, because I've read your papers. I'm going to talk to you sort of privately a little bit later. Okay?
Okay.
So what I would like you to do for now is, this is Officer Byrd.
Yeah.
He's going to take you into my chambers for a minute to sit down and wait for me, because I want to talk to your mom and dad for a minute.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Miss Grant, would you step up here, please? Mr. and Mrs. Grant, from what I gather from your papers, you were married in 1975.
Correct.
And these are your two girls.
Yes.
You're now divorced.
No.
Separated.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And you lived in New York most of your married life, is that right?
Yes. All of our married life was in New York.
When did you separate?
November of 1986.
No, 96.
I'm sorry, 96.
So you were married for 21 years before you separated.
Correct.
And I gather that this separation was not a happy one. They usually are not. But that you left New York, Mrs. Grant. Is that
I went
right?
to Hawaii. We resided in Hawaii.
Who resided in Hawaii?
Me and the children.
You left your husband?
Oh, yeah.
Why did you decide to move to Hawaii?
Well, I had family there, and I wanted distance. So
Why did you want distance?
It was a horrible relationship. It became threatening on many levels, and I thought the further, the better.
How did you feel as if that impacted on the children?
It had to be negative and positive. It was positive because it took them out of a very harmful situation.
How harmful, Mrs. Grant?
Very harmful.
Was it a physically abusive relationship?
Oh, yeah.
You say, oh, yeah, you say that very mildly.
Yeah, I can say that now because I'm not in danger anymore. Yes, it was.
Was any of this violence in front of the children?
Yes.
Is that right, sir?
No, it's not true.
Well, if I asked your girls whether they ever saw you being physically abusive towards your wife, what do you think they would say?
They would say no.
Did you get permission from the court to leave the jurisdiction?
Oh, yeah.
I gave permission for the children to
The
leave
courts
with
gave.
her. No, it was my permission that did it.
Why, Mr. Grant, did you give permission for your wife to go so many thousands of miles away with your children?
For my children to go through this, I couldn't let them go through any more court litigation, so it was me that said, let her have full custody and let the children be with her.
Do you have other children, Mr. Grant?
No.
The reason that I'm asking to speak to you first before I speak to the girls is the girls want their things back. That's what this lawsuit is about. I don't know exactly what things they want, and I assume they're going to tell me. But it's always a very sad thing when children are brought into a domestic situation between their parents. There's a saying that always sticks in my mind, Mrs. Grant and Mr. Grant, and that is you're supposed to love your children more than you hate each other when you separate. Children usually need two parents.
They should do.
If they've estranged themselves for whatever reason, either because one parent encourages it or not, they usually grow up eventually resenting the parent that caused the estrangement, and that could be either one of you. So, Mrs. Grant, I'm going to ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Let us assume that it was a miserable relationship with your husband.
Mm-hmm.
You think it's a good idea that your children should have negative feelings about him?
They're free to have whatever feelings they want to.
Well, you're the custodial parent, Mrs. Grant. So really children are pretty pliable, you know, and they take their lead from whoever is taking care of them.
No, I'm not going to push the children either way. If they have negative feelings or negative thoughts, they can vent those. If they don't, they don't.
Okay. Well, what things do your daughters want from their father?
What they really want are the things from their bedroom, their baby pictures, videos, stamp collections, telescopes, microscopes, things of that nature.
Well, baby pictures and things, he says he wants to keep because he likes to have them. And I can understand that. You can make copies of those and send them to the girls, right?
Yes.
That's an easy. The other things are just things, microscope, stamp collection, those things. You have no problem with returning those to the girls, do you?
No, I have no problem.
But it's the pictures and the videos.
It's the pictures and the videos.
And That's also, in this age of technology, you can make
Also
copies,
duplicate.
keep one for yourself, and then see that the girls get their pictures and stuff so that they also can look at times when they were little and maybe you were all a family and living happily together. All right, I would like to speak to your children. So why don't the two of you have a seat?
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I'm telling you that he loves you.
You're telling me.
I'm telling you that he
He's
loves you.
not.
Is it important for you to hear it from him?
No, because it's a lie.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robin Grant is suing her ex-husband on behalf of their two children, Marie and Robin, because he won't return their belongings. Colden says he's being prohibited from seeing his children.
Hello, gorgeous girls.
Hello.
I understand you two are very bright. First of all, you're very tall
Yeah.
and very lovely.
Thank you.
So you know who I am, and I want to find out a little bit more about you. I've just had a talk with your mom and your dad. And it's always sad when parents get a divorce, right?
Depending, I don't think it's that sad because they're arguing and everything. So it's not sad that they're not arguing anymore.
To me, it was just about happy.
It's about happy. Why is that?
I don't have to go through a bunch of arguing and screaming and stuff like that.
So there was a lot of that in your house. But my sense is that your mother loves you and your father loves you. You're their only children. What things do you want your dad to give you back?
Well, I want my baby pictures.
Okay, let me tell you what your dad said about your pictures and the videos and stuff. Your dad's going to make copies of all the things because he would like to have them too, to see his children. You're his two children. He doesn't have any other kids. He loves you. And then you have a stamp collection.
Yeah.
Whose stamp collection?
Both of ours.
And he's going to send that back to you.
That's good.
And the telescope, is that what you want?
Oh, yeah.
And your dad said he was going to send that back to you.
That's good.
Okay? So let's take care of that.
And our coin collection.
And your coin collection. Very valuable coin collection?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, my mom traveled like all over the world, and she got different like kinds of dollars from different places and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, is it your mom's coin collection or yours?
And she gave it to us.
Well, let me tell you this. It's really your mom's coin collection, if she was collecting it. There are certain things that are yours. There are certain things that may be a problem between your mother and your father. I don't want to get involved with that, and I don't think you ought to get involved with that. All right, so let's finish that. This is over. So let's talk honestly, the two of us, the three of us, two of you and one of me. You live very far away from your father.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you two girls ever witness any time when either of your parents put their hands on each other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did?
Yep.
Tell me about it.
Well, once my dad tried twisting my mom's arm and stuff, so I stopped it.
Yes. What else?
Well, sometimes they just get tussling matches sometimes. Tussling matches sometimes.
The two of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Colton's always trying to like talk over her and and stuff like you're brainwashing them and stuff like that.
That happens. You know your mom loves you.
Yeah.
So does your father. I think you know that. I'm not so sure that you understand that. He really loves you. You question that?
Yeah.
He loves you.
Well, my true feelings are that I don't really want to be around him anymore.
Why?
The way he acts.
Like what? You have to tell me.
Okay. The way he acts is like ignorant.
How?
I can't explain it.
Didn't that say something to you? You know, the truth of the matter is, ladies, just amongst us three ladies, sometimes guys don't always do the right thing just because they're older. Sometimes parents don't do the right thing. Mothers or fathers, even because they're parents. And you two gals are very smart. So in addition to being smart, you should be tolerant. Just because you're a parent doesn't make you perfect. Your father has disappointed you, right? Mm-hmm. You're supposed to not necessarily accept it and not necessarily understand it, but just say, he's my father. And I know he's made mistakes, but I'm telling you that he loves you.
You're telling me.
I'm telling you that he loves you.
He's not. You're telling.
Is it important for you to hear it from him?
No, because it's a lie.
No, it's not. He loves you. He really loves you. Would you spend a little time with him today?
No.
Hmm?
No, I've been with him for 8 years, and that's enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
They did witness a lot of shouting, a lot of screaming, and a lot of mutual pushing. They're very angry with you, sir. Your children will not grow up as whole human beings if they do not have any contact with their father.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robin Grant claims her ex-husband, Colden Grant, won't return their children's possessions. Colden says since Robin won't let him see his kids, he wants to keep the items.
Why don't you step back up, please?
May I ask her to view these, please?
Ms. Grant.
Your Honor?
I am not condoning any act of domestic violence that may have occurred in your home. I will tell you from what I heard from the children, there was only one instance that your younger daughter told me about when your husband twisted your arm. While I'm not condoning that, we're not talking about an ongoing pattern of physical violence that the children witnessed. They did witness a lot of shouting, a lot of screaming, and a lot of mutual pushing, shoving. They're very angry with you, sir. Your girls are very angry with you. And Mrs. Grant, I'm going to make a couple of suggestions to you. In the short time that I had to speak with your daughters, they are so fixed, although your older daughter clearly is sad about it, at not having contact with their father, that I think it almost would border on the criminal if you did not see to it that your children were engaged in some sort of therapy. Because I believe it is a tremendous mistake for children to be estranged from a non-custodial parent the way these children have been estranged from their father. Terrible mistake. But it's a mistake for girls not to want to receive mail from their father, not to want to communicate with him at all. That says something to me about the custodial parent, Mrs. Grant, because I've seen enough children of separation and divorce where there is a lot more domestic violence that goes on, and those children still want to have contact with their father. These children, for some reason, do not, and they were not able to articulate to me any really valid reason for it. So I must attribute that to things that they've heard at home. I think it's a tremendous mistake. I think in the long run you will be hurting your children and hurting them dramatically if you don't change your attitude with regard to him. He's their father. You picked him. You were married to him for 21 years. You were together for 21 years. You made 2 children. These are the only 2 children that you have. And if he is less of a husband or less of a father than your children would like, that's it. I've tried to explain to them he still loves them. They have to feel as if he still loves them. They don't feel that way, and they must be getting that from someplace other than him. So I think you're making a big mistake if you don't encourage your children in that direction and not say to me at age 9 that you're going to let her make up her own mind what she wants to do. Okay?
And I hope that Robin's anger stopped filtering over to the children. It's really her anger that have my children feeling this way.
Well, I don't doubt that, sir, because I've very rarely seen children so fixed with basically what I've heard in the back without the kind of history that would suggest that that they have a good and valid reason for it. The marriage is over, it's over.
Did Maria relate to you that whenever they want to speak to him that I allow them to call They stopped calling because he kept lying to them.
Miss Grant, what I'm telling you is there's a difference between children asking to call their father and feeling that they are betraying their mother if they're asking to call their father because she's so angry. Just listen to me, Mrs. Grant. You're shaking your head no. I've been in this business for a quarter of a century. I've probably seen 10,000 separations and divorces. They're all not so different. And children feel that if they ask to communicate with the non-custodial parent, when there's so much anger on this side, that in some way they're being disloyal to their mother. So it's not a question of I let them call whenever they want to call. They have to be reinforced constantly with the idea that their father may have shortcomings, but he loves you.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Grant, you have promised me, sir, that you will return the children's things to them.
Yes.
That is their telescope, their stamp collection. I don't know about this coin collection that they spoke about. If you find it in your heart to return it to them, that's terrific. They certainly would like to have their pictures back, so you're going to make copies of all of those things and see to it that they get them. Return their things. It's stupid to have their things. Right?
Well, those are the only memories I have. I have no contact.
Okay.
So right now...
Well, but you know, you don't get warm from looking at a telescope, sir.
No.
So you have to return their things. It's important to them. So you can't be angry and also let that flow down to the children. It's a start. I don't know what will happen eventually, but Mrs. Grant, your children will not grow up as whole human beings if they do not have any contact with their father. By the time they're 20, 25 years old, it will be a void for them. And you should be protective of that. I think that you love them.
It's a void now.
Well, then you have to do something about it. You're their mother. You've moved them halfway across the world. So it's your responsibility to shorten that distance in whatever way you can, because they're going to have a void as adults. If they cannot accept the fact that good, bad, shortcomings, he's done things that disappoint them, this is their father. And if they don't feel as if he loves them, they're not going to grow up strong. That's all.
Parties excused. You may step out. 77 on the calendar in the matter of Wisnen versus Concepcion. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Mr. Wisnad, you are a bail bondsman.
Yes, ma'am.
This lady came to you because her husband, I suppose that's you.
Yes.
Correct? Was arrested.
She actually, Maria is my sub-agent who actually wrote the bond.
You came to her.
Well, I called her.
Because your husband was in jail. What was he arrested for?
For possession of stolen property.
Possession of stolen property is what he was arrested for. He was being held on how much bail?
$25,000.
$25,000.
There's one other charge there, Your Honor. It was PC 273.5, which is domestic violence.
So possession of stolen property and beating up his wife.
Actually, I believe it was his sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law. Because that's heavy bail. $25,000. Anyway, you charged 10%.
That is correct.
And you agreed to post the bail for him.
Yes, ma'am.
So he could get out of jail, right?
Right.
That was a nice thing for them to do.
It's her job.
Your fee, that's his job. For which he gets what?
For which he gets 10%.
Paid.
Right. Gets paid.
And at the time your wife came in, all she had was $1,300. But they agreed to go ahead and post the bail anyway.
Right.
Correct. And there was an agreement. And what was the agreement about the rest of the bail, sir?
It was a signed promissory note to have the remaining balance of $1,300 paid in full by May 2nd.
And how many days after that?
That was actually 4 days after the bond was posted, and that was a date that was agreed upon by Maria, the agent writing the bail, and Eleanor.
May I see it, please? So, Miss Concepcion, you signed this promissory note to come in 4 days later and post the rest of the bail.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Did you?
I tried. That I didn't. No.
You didn't?
No.
And you, sir, got out of jail.
Yes.
Did you go in and post the money?
No, I didn't. I told her, directly, I told her, I said, there's no possible way that I'm going to be able to have that money for you. Now, is there a way that we can make arrangements for the balance? Payments such as, $200 a month.
Just a second. These aren't your relatives. They're in business.
But, Your Honor, she told me that if I had any problems making the payments, she could make arrangements.
Correct. But when I had also spoken to her and we did the promissory note, I told her to tell me the date that she can come up with this money. So I gave her an option to either pay it off in full or do payments. And she told me that she could come up with the money by May 2nd, which was a couple days later.
Okay. Now listen. The most important thing for you was to get your husband out of jail.
Yes.
You signed this piece of paper that promised that you would make the payment to the bail bondsman, who stands to lose all the money, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Not just this little bit of money, but $25,000.
That is correct.
Because you are ensuring that he's going to show up and do the right thing.
Yes, ma'am.
That's his business. Okay. So you got what you needed momentarily, which was to get out of jail. You promised whatever you had to promise, and then you didn't pay it. How many times have you been arrested? Can't try to count on one hand.
No.
How
I
many
haven't been
times?
arrested that many times.
So you know the drill?
Not really.
Are you sure you do? How old are you?
37.
You've been arrested more than 3 times, sir? Make sure you tell me the truth.
Actually about 3 times.
Yeah, the money issue was actually secondary on...
I know.
Okay.
Because your lawsuit says that he didn't show up.
To sign the paperwork, that is correct.
To sign the paperwork, and he was supposed to.
There's also
That's
another.
this other form.
Can I see that, please?
His wife signed. Sorry.
Now, you signed this paper agreeing that you would produce your husband in their office within 48 hours of his release to sign the remainder of the paperwork. Right?
Right. But she told me, because I didn't have the money, she told me not to go in.
Did you ever tell her not to come in?
No.
Baloney! Baloney! She never told you not to bring him in to sign the rest of the paperwork? Paperwork
that's
is
what happened.
what he has to have.
When I spoke to her, why wouldn't she tell me this? She told me straight
Just a second, sir. Were you told by your wife that you had to go in within 2 days to sign some paperwork?
No.
Baloney. Baloney. You
I
know,
don't think
there's a
so.
certain common sense, sir. You've been in jail before, you've been arrested before, you've had bond posted before. You know the drill.
She told me about taking a picture, yes, okay.
Right.
But like I said, I
Just a
spoke
second.
to this woman
Yeah.
personally.
Your wife told you that you had to go in and sign some paperwork and have your picture taken. So the answer is yes. Right?
Picture taken, yes.
Did you go?
Did we don't know?
No, because we didn't have the money.
This says when you're released within 48 hours, you have to come to his office. Is that what it says?
Correct.
It is in English. Clear as a bell. So don't tell me about going to court the next
I understand
day.
that, but she told us not to come in because
There was
we
a lot
making
of
a trip
things
for
said
nothing.
verbally.
I would call her and she would tell me she would come in the next day. There was no one, she never ever came in. I kept calling, telling me that her check or whatever, for whatever which reasons, she didn't have the money. And I told her, okay, if you don't have the money, come in and we can make payment
You
arrangements.
told me
but
you were
he
gonna
needs
arrest
to
me.
Come in.
Hey.
If the paper on the agreement said, on that agreement that we just handed to you, said if he didn't come in within 48 hours, then we could arrest him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's trying to put his finger in my eyes. Instinct, I bite on that finger.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bail bondsman Gene Wisenant says Frank Concepcion owes him bail money. When Gene went to collect, Frank says there was an altercation over a gun.
Tell me what happened when you went to arrest him.
Here we go.
There were 2 times. The first night was on a Wednesday, the 14th, I believe. I went to the mother-in-law's house, which was listed as his residential address. I went there, I saw Eleanor, and I saw his mother-in-law and a number of other people there. I went through the house, he wasn't there. Gave Eleanor and her mother my business cards with instructions to have Frank call me when he came back in.
You're a liar, man.
Shh. Hey, I want you to be quiet, sir. Don't talk to him. You're going to have a chance to speak. How much after you posted the bail for him did you go to effectuate the arrest?
About 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks.
Okay. And in that 2.5 to 3 weeks' time, had he come in to make any payment whatsoever?
No, ma'am. As a matter of
Had
fact,
his wife come in to make any payment whatsoever?
no, ma'am.
Okay. So you went to arrest him. And tell me what happened when you got there.
Got to the house. We were watching the house. Maria was the driver. I was going to effect the arrest. I had Maria move the car. I was standing in the shadow next to the side of the house when Maria pulled to the light to square the block and come back on a different location. Frank's, as I find out later, it was Frank's younger brother comes out, sees her pull away, yells something out. Frank goes running across the street, out to the front door, across the street to his parked car. That is correct. I yelled out his name. I yelled his name again and ordered him to stop. He turned around, looked over his shoulder at me, ran back towards the house. I stopped him in the driveway, side of the house in the side driveway. We rolled to the ground. As we were rolling, I felt his hand go for my gun. I clamped his hand. At that point, I basically gave up on the encounter. My whole goal, my whole purpose in life at that point was to hold the gun in the holster, not allow the gun to get released, get out. I had his left hand clamped to my gun and my gun pressed down in the holster. He was able to straddle my body, get his right hand around my throat.
Tell the truth now.
I'm going to throw you out of the courtroom. Take your hands out of your pockets and be quiet. You're going to have your opportunity, sir, to tell me your version of the story. How many times do I have to tell you that?
Okay, continue.
He's got his hand on my throat and his other hand on my gun. I put my hand up to his head. I can still feel the ridge of his eye socket under my thumb, with the intention of rolling my thumb in. I rolled my hand down across his face to rock his head back and force him off of me. When my hand came down across his face, he clamped down on my left index finger. Still have a scar on each side. He clamped down. I felt his jaw rake across it. His brother then got up to my right side. I felt his brother pry at my hand on the gun, and either I hit him with my elbow or I kneed him with my knee.
Must be his auntie.
My hand got free at that point.
Do me a favor. Would you stand behind him? Because I want to get this case over with, so I don't want to throw him out of the courtroom. But maybe your presence is there, Officer Byrd, will remind him to keep his mouth shut until it's his turn.
I don't think so.
Go ahead.
When he yelled out, I was able to get my hand free. I pried his hand off my throat. At that point, I guess he felt he was losing control. He tried to stand up. Because I was holding both of his hands, he pulled me up as well. His brother put up both his hands on my chest and pushed me back to the ground, struck me trying to hit my groin missing. Frank got up, took 2 or 3 steps. I either pushed or punched his brother again to get him off of me. Frank took a step back and yelled, "Don't hit my brother." I was able to get up. Frank ran to his car across the street. Maria was parked in the middle of the street on the phone with the local police department. She witnessed the whole thing. Frank got away that night, and then I went straight from there. Police officer responded about 10 or 15 minutes later, took a report, and I went directly to the emergency room to get medical care for my finger.
So the remainder of your lawsuit is for the bite?
The bite, yes, ma'am.
Okay, now it's your turn.
Okay, first of all, we talked on the phone, and this is after 2 weeks. We spoke on the phone. I have not yet even spoke to this man. I spoke to her, and her and my wife were talking. We agreed to come down to their office at that evening. The call was about 4 o'clock. We agreed to be there about 8 o'clock. I left the house. I told my wife, I said, we'll go down there, meet me down there at 8 o'clock. I have to go to my father's and run some errands, okay, for my father. Okay, this was at my father's place. Okay, I went outside. I was leaving after I ran the errands for my father, okay. This was nighttime already, it was dark. I go to my car, it was parked across the street, okay. as I'm going across the street, it's dark too, there's not many lights out there. Now, he's hiding behind a bush, okay? All of a sudden, I'm walking across the street, I'm in the middle of the street, and somebody says, hold it. You move it, I'll shoot. He got his .357 out, pointing right at me, okay? And I look at him, I don't know who he is. He never identified himself at all, okay? I don't know who the heck, he could be trying to rob me. You know, I run, I take off. As I'm running back towards my place, okay, the garage, I turn around, because he's right behind me, I turn around and smack him one. Okay, then I pick him up and I throw him, body slam him on my garage. Okay, at this point, he's going for his gun again. Now, when he goes for his gun, I put my elbow up in his throat, okay, and I'm grabbing for the gun, because I'm going to take it from him before he shoots me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're wrong about that.
I'm wrong. I was wrong once in 1947.
You're wrong again in 1998.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bail bondsman Gene Wisenant says Frank Concepcion tried to jump bail. When he tried to collect, an altercation ensued.
Just tell me your version of what happened that day.
This man's going for his gun like it was the thing to do, like he's some super cop or something. You ain't about nothing though. But I'm gonna tell you, okay, because I'm going for his gun. I'm going for his gun, all right? And this time he's got, like he said, he's trying to put his finger in my eyes. Instinct, I bite on that finger, all right? Then I pull the gun out from his holster and toss it in the bush. Now, I don't want some accident to happen because this guy's acting like a fool out. Would just pull out his gun, you know, like he thinks he can do this. I haven't jumped bail. I haven't even missed my court date. I haven't even had my court date yet. And he's coming at me with a gun?
Okay. Now, I have a couple of questions for you, sir. You were running errands for your father, and you were supposed to be at his office. Shut up! Just pay attention to me.
Okay.
You were supposed to be at his office at 8 o'clock. That was the plan. That's what you told me, correct?
Right, correct.
Did you go to his office at 8 o'clock? The answer is either yes or no.
No.
Right. Because when he came to your house, it was after 8 o'clock, correct?
No, it was before 8
What
o'clock.
time? What time?
7:30, 20 till.
But he had came
Just
to the
a
house
second.
before
Just
me.
a second. Hey,
I was there.
Just answer my. Listen
was
to me.
there.
Listen to me. Truth of the matter is, the two of you had absolutely no intention of going to his office
Yes,
at
I
8 o'clock.
did. I was going.
Yeah,
It only
you-
takes 15 minutes to get there.
Oh, baloney.
They had no intentions of meeting us at their office.
It was all set up.
Listen to me. It may have been a setup, but you had no intention of going there, paying the money, and having your picture taken, and
It
filling
wasn't
out the
about
rest of the
paying
paper.
money. It wasn't about paying money.
It's
It
about
was
making
about
a
signing
check.
a contract to pay $200 a month
All right.
for the rebalance.
Okay,
of
let's go. Let's finish up that. And let me get to the next thing that's troubling me about your version of this story, sir. When you first started to tell me the story, you told me he was hiding in the bushes, which means that you saw him hiding in the bushes.
No.
And, well, then how did you know he was hiding in the bushes?
Because I crossed the street and he said, hold it, move and I'll shoot. That's when I looked and he
okay.
was hiding in the bushes.
I see. So you saw him hiding in the bushes. What did you say no for? You saw him hiding in the bushes, right?
Okay.
Then you just went through a whole story about where does he come off taking out his gun. It's only a bail, and I hadn't missed my court date. Isn't that what you just told me?
That's correct.
Right. Just a minute. But then at the beginning of the story that you were telling me you thought he was a robber. They had to rob you. How could he be a robber and a bail bondsman at the same time?
He never identified himself. I told you. You're not listening to me.
No, I'm listening to you, sir.
No, I told you he did not identify himself. He never had.
You said to me, where does he come off pulling a gun, a .357 Magnum on me, as a bail bondsman?
I'm speaking after the fact already, okay?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen, I've heard both stories. A, you owe him the money for the bail, because that's what you promised, madam, to pay him. That's the written... Stand closer to him.
Stand as close as you want, brother.
That's what you promised. That's what you agreed. You agreed to come in and pay $1,200. Right?
Right.
So that's what you owe him. And what I am finding, based upon common sense is that he got out of jail and he said, let him come find me.
No,
That-
you're wrong.
Sure.
You're wrong
Didn't
about
come
that.
I'm wrong. I was wrong once in
Your Honor, I
1947.
You're wrong
But
again
since
in
1947, I didn't. You are suing, sir, for assault. It's
Yes,
clear
sir.
to me from his own version of what happened that he knew exactly who you were when you stopped him, that he was avoiding you, that the family was avoiding you, and that you were effectuating a lawful arrest in order to secure your bail, because it was now 2.5 to 3 weeks, and the person for whom you had posted bail failed to come in to complete the necessary paperwork and failed to keep that part of the agreement that provided for the remainder of the 10% of the bail. So you had an absolute right to go in and effectuate an arrest under the laws in this jurisdiction, and you were assaulted. And I believe that he knew who you were, that what he should have done was stop immediately. He did not do that.
Do you
Based
believe
upon
he
his own,
identified himself?
based upon his own statement.
Do you believe he
Right.
identified himself?
I'm not here to answer your questions. You answer my questions. Based upon his own statement, he turned around and struck you before you struck him. He said that, not you. He says he turned around and assaulted you. So I'm granting you your judgment for $3,000. That's all.
Judge, this is case number 283 on the calendar in the matter of Johnson versus McDermott.
Thank you, sir.
Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Johnson, according to your complaint, sir, you and the defendant were dating briefly. She had an accident in the car she was driving. Is the car your car?
It was my parents' car.
What kind of car was it?
It was a Mazda 626.
New?
No, it was an 83.
You got into an accident with the car. According to you, Mr. Johnson, the defendant came to you and she was very upset.
Yep, scared of her dad's reaction, didn't know what she'd do. And I said, I know someone who can fix her car. Brought it over there and got it fixed. And while she said that she didn't have the money, I said, I could let you borrow the money. She said, sure, that'd be great. But at first she denied it. She's like, no, don't do that for me. Please don't do that. I was like, all right, well, just if you need the money, when you start your job, you can start paying me back. She's like, all right, because she was scared of what her dad was going to do. Got her car fixed. 2 days later after that, she split on me in so many words, like our relationship ended. And for about 1.5 years, I tried getting in contact with her maybe like 10 times in a total of 1.5 years, and I never got a response back to her.
Mr. Johnson, let's go back a little bit because you sort of fluffed over this oral contract that you had with her that you're suing on, sir.
Mm-hmm.
She came to your house and she said she was very upset.
Well, she was crying and stuff. She didn't
So
know what she
far,
was
he's
going to do.
correct.
She did not know what she was going to do.
So far, he's correct.
She's correct to the point where he just said that he said he'd lend me the money, and he never said that. He told me that he had a friend that owed him favors and that he would get it fixed. And I said...
Yeah, for cheaper.
No, you never
Don't
said
interrupt.
that.
Go ahead.
And so I was like, I was really scared. I was in shock. I just got in an accident. And I said, no, because I don't have money to get it fixed. I'm just going to have to tell my dad. And then he didn't want me to get in trouble. So he said, no, no, we'll get it fixed. So we took it to the shop, got it fixed.
When you took it to the shop, was there any discussion about $600?
Not until he was going to get it fixed, and then the guy said it'll be $600.
So there was discussion about $600.
Yes.
So.
And then Dino, I looked at Dino, and he said, no, they're going to take care of it. Because he said the guy owed him a lot of favors.
That's not true.
But then I did not, it didn't hit me until we were on our way home, and I asked him who's going to pay for it. And he said, I will. And I said, no, I don't want you to pay for it. Take it out of the shop. And he didn't. And
so you said to him, take it out of the shop?
Yeah, I asked him to call them.
And he said what?
He said, no, don't worry about it. They'll take care of it.
So you didn't say to him, take me right back to the shop and let's get it out of the shop?
I asked him to. I
But
said,
he
take
didn't.
me over there or call them. And he didn't.
But then there came a time when you went back and picked up this car.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes.
A fixed car?
Yes.
Did you pay for the car, sir?
Yes, I did. $600. She was there.
Let me see proof of that.
She told me that when she was able to get a job, she would pay me back. I said, little payments are fine, whenever. And she was like, okay, I'm going to pay you back, even when we were like breaking up or whatever we had together.
Who signed for this?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken many cars to Miguel.
Miguel, that's the name of this person?
Mm-hmm. Miguel's Auto Body Shop.
Good. Let me make a call.
Mm-hmm.
Is this Miguel? Miguel, this is Judge Judy Scheindlin. Do you know who I am? Well, I'm a judge who is hearing a case that has something to do with your auto body shop. And I have a couple of questions to ask you. Do you have a moment for me? Good. Do you know someone by the name of Dino Johnson? Yes. He says he's brought many customers to your shop. And this has to do with a car that was brought to you, a 1983 Mazda in 1995. He says he came in with a young woman who had been in an accident with her car. Yes? Well, could you tell me what you remember about that, sir? Right, so 2 or 3 weeks ago he came in and he asked you for a bill. Right, because I'm looking at this bill and it doesn't look as if it's a couple of years old. It looks like it's a relatively new bill. And it says here, sir, there's something that's circled, and it said that you were paid in cash. So how did you know it was $600? Is not an answer, Miguel. Okay, Miguel, you've been very cooperative. Thank you very much, sir. Bye-bye.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I said, well, I don't think my husband would have murdered his daughter. And I said, I would have been able to handle that.
And later today.
You know, you got to remember what you write down, Mr. Barth.
Gotcha.
Always comes back to bite you in the behind.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dean Johnson is suing his former girlfriend, Nicole McDermott, because he gave her money to fix her car and she never repaid him. Nicole says Dean is angry because she broke up with him and started dating his friend.
Now, Mr. Johnson, one of the reasons I went to make a phone call is this didn't look like something you had had around for 2.5 years. So Miguel seemed to know all about this lawsuit. I figured maybe he has no business because 2.5 years go by. Boy, he remembered everything, like she was your girlfriend and then broke up with you, and he knew the whole story. That led me to believe that you had been there more recently.
Yeah, because my mechanic is right next door.
No, because you needed a new bill.
Yeah, and I got a new bill, and she was there when I paid for it.
Now, just a second. You got a
I'm
new
just telling
bill. You got a new bill. This he gave you a couple of weeks ago. This was not the original bill. He has no invoice with regard to it because I asked him how come. He remembered that it was $600. He said, well, he remembers that it was $600. He had no invoice because he wrote paid cash, which means that he didn't write it down anywhere else.
Exactly.
Well, I have no doubt that $600 was in fact paid because according to Miguel, who I believe, who was very honest with me on the phone, he said that the original estimate was much more, about $850, but because he was referred by a friend and had done a lot of work there, he said he would do it for less. I have another couple of questions for you, Miss McDermott. You say you rear-ended this car and you had hundreds of dollars worth of damage on your car. What happened to the other car?
The other car, it was a Ford Explorer. There was only a small scratch, and it was a rental car, so they didn't care.
So he didn't care?
No, so nothing happened to it.
Did you ultimately tell your father about this?
Yes, I did.
When?
I told him approximately, he found out, and then I told him about 2 months after it happened.
Are you working?
Yes.
You have to pay for this. It's reasonable, right? He was being a nice guy.
See, he told me I didn't have to worry about paying him back. And he even told my mother that on the telephone, that I don't have to worry about it. And she asked him, what happens if she breaks up with you? And
oh, well, let me, just don't tell me, let her tell me. You're her mother.
Yes.
Your last name is?
McDermott.
Yes.
I learned about the accident approximately 2 days after the accident. The car was already in the shop. It was almost repaired, and they were ready to pick it up. I had spoke to Dino about it. I said, Dino, we don't have the money to pay you for the car. My husband, one of the reasons why we hadn't told my husband, he had had 7 surgeries in the last 4 years. He was having a very hard time with his health, and I didn't want to tell him. I kept things from him because I didn't want to disturb his health anymore.
Good idea.
But I told Dino, I said, Dino, why did you fix her car? I says, why didn't you call me? I told Nikki, why didn't you call me? I'm your parent. It's up to me to decide what's going to happen. He says, well, she couldn't have driven it that way and her father would have gotten really mad. I says, well, he said her father would have killed her. I says, well, I don't think my husband would have murdered his daughter. And I said, I would have been able to handle that. I said, she would have either, one, had to have driven the car like it was, if it was drivable. I never saw it. I said, or found alternate transportation. He says, don't worry about it. She doesn't have to pay me back. And it was like
I
a
told her
done
she
deal.
didn't have to pay me back right away.
It
As soon as
wasn't-
she got a job, because she wasn't working at the time. I said, even $20,
Miss McDermott.
$10 here and
Miss
there, that'd be
McDermott,
fine.
listen to me. You have to teach your daughter responsibility. How old is she?
She'll be 20.
And so this happened 2.5 years ago, so she wasn't quite 18, correct?
Right.
Well, then you have to teach her responsibility. I can understand that. 17 years old, still a baby, they do a lot of stupid things. But she was in an accident with the car. And if you're in an accident, you have to bear responsibility for taking care of it. I can understand her boyfriend at that time saying, listen, don't worry about it, you're not working, you know, I don't want you to get in trouble with your father, I will help you out. But then within a relatively short period of time, they weren't a couple anymore. Don't you think it's the responsible thing for your daughter to do? To pay her debts? Don't you think so? Sure it is. Now, but you have another problem, Mr. Johnson.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
My grandmother used to say, beauty fades, dumb is forever.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dean Johnson says his former girlfriend, Nicole McDermott, borrowed money to fix her car and never paid him back. Nicole claims the money was a gift.
You have another problem, Mr. Johnson. How old are you, sir?
21.
So you were over 18 when you made this arrangement with Miss McDermott,
Yes.
and she was under 18.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
I believe so. I wasn't exactly sure of her age.
How old were you?
I was.
I think she just turned
I
18.
just turned 18.
You did just turn 18. Are you lucky? Because if she were under 18, she couldn't make a contract with you, even a verbal one. You understand that?
I do now.
She can't be bound by it. She can't be sued on it. But if she were it was over 18, then she has reached her majority. Miss McDermott, you have to take care of your bills. You drive a car, there are expenses. You have an accident, you have to pay for them.
That's why I didn't want him to fix my car.
But he fixed it, madam. And you're over 18, and you were sitting in the car, and nobody said you had to leave the car there. It was drivable. You could have said, forget it. I don't have the money. I'm going to deal with my father. You didn't do that. Don't take advantage of a situation. How much after this did you two break up?
Like,
it was about a week.
About a week?
Maybe even less than that.
That's a
like
very
3 days.
expensive
He
week.
didn't even want the money
All
back
right.
until...
Miss McDermott, you can't get along on your good looks forever, madam. You know? After a while, the looks go. And you have other things that you have to rely on, and that is your good name and integrity and responsibility and all those good things. Now, if you two had ended up an item, you got married and whatever, if he came to me 20 years later and said to me, she owes me $600 for the car, I would have shown him the door. But he did this because he cared for you. So, you're supposed to do the right thing. And the right thing is to pay him back his money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back good to your right.
And now the next case.
Parties on Daly versus Barth. Step forward, please.
29-year-old Christina Daly says she loaned her ex-boyfriend, Matthew Barth, money to buy a truck, which he never repaid. Matthew claims he sold the truck and gave Christina the money, making them even.
A long time ago,
Yes.
He was your boyfriend.
Yes.
And these papers say that while he was your boyfriend, he needed a truck,
Yes.
but he had no money.
That's correct.
So he asked you for the money, and you gave him how much?
I wrote him a check for $4,000.
And you don't seem to deny that, sir.
No, the only part that I would deny is that she offered me the money. But That's not correct.
Just a second. Oh, let's not fight back and forth. $4,000 was the amount.
Yes.
And this happened about 4 years ago. Is that right?
I wrote the check on July 19th of 1993.
And then your relationship was over.
Yes.
That was in 94.
But you had the truck.
Yes, I did.
And you have, and you've never, according to her, you've never paid her back the $4,000.
That's correct.
Now, Mr. Barth, I read your answer very carefully, sir. And you seem to have a whole menu of defenses to this action.
Yes.
A whole menu. So let me see if I've got them all. Because you know I'm getting old, so I may forget one or two. First, you say it was a gift and not a loan because she offered you the money. Correct?
Correct.
Then you say, I think I paid her back.
I did pay her back a portion of the money.
Then you say the statute of limitations ran.
That is a defense, Your Honor.
Your second defense belies the first defense, because if you say you paid her back the money, or at least a portion of it, that would suggest to me that you acknowledge that there was in fact a loan.
Yes.
So we want to take that first defense that it was a gift and sort of shove it, right?
Okay, well, gift and then offering the money, but under terms, I would probably believe that I would have to pay her back the money. So as a gift is something you don't pay back.
Did you understand that?
So I guess.
Let's do this again very slowly, Mr. Barth. Why don't you try again with me in English?
Okay, it was a loan, and I accepted the loan.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Now, $4,000. And you say you paid her back.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, when
Look
at the
here.
termination of the relationship,
Yes.
I had to sell the truck.
Why is that?
Because in order for me to get any kind of ground to pay her back, I have to come up with some money to pay her back.
Yeah.
So I sold the truck. And I paid her back what I received for the truck.
That's not correct, Your Honor.
Just a second. So you say that when you broke up, in order to be able to pay her back for this loan, which you felt obligated to do, you sold the truck and gave her back the money.
Yes.
How much did you give her back?
$2,500.
And that was the reason. Is that correct?
Yes.
You know, you got to remember what you write down, Mr. Barth.
Gotcha.
Always comes back to bite you in the behind. All right? I sold the truck shortly thereafter. The intent was to dissolve anything that would link us together.
Mm-hmm.
That smacks more of an emotional reason for selling this truck than an obligation. So, let us assume for the moment, sir, let us assume for the moment that I believed you, which I don't. Unless you have proof, of course, of the check that you gave her.
No.
Oh, of course not.
Don't.
What happened to the other $1,500?
$1,500, the truck wasn't worth what it was originally worth. So
Well,
that's
since when did she become a partner in your misfortune? You bought the truck for $4,000. If you acknowledge that you made a loan, $4,000, and you sold it for $2,500, she didn't become a partner in your loss. Oh. Now, did you ask him for this money?
Yes, I did. On several occasions, I've asked him for the money. And how he would respond to me was, I would love to pay you the money back, but I do not have the money. And I believed Matt because we were together for 2.5 years and Matt never had any money. And so I believed him when he told me that, and I trusted him when he told me.
But he's got a great smile.
He's very charming. Yes, he won me over too. And
No, don't add two. He didn't win me over, Miss Daly. Miss Daly, didn't win me over, madam.
Okay, well, you're smarter than I.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Barth,
Yes, Your Honor.
you owe her $4,000. And I leave you with this one thought. You're not going to be gorgeous forever, sir. Eventually, you're going to have to rely on people respecting you, trusting you, feeling as if you're reliable and responsible, because there are a lot of pretty faces out there. Right? My grandmother used to say, beauty fades, dumb is forever. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. Come forward, please.
Joe Carlin is suing his ex-wife, Mary Stepp, because she failed to honor their agreement to pay for half of their daughter's karate lessons.
Order. All rise. Order in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 293 on the calendar in the matter of Carlin versus Stepp. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Carlin, you and the defendant have been divorced for many years.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, you shared custody for most of those years of your now 16-year-old daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And it sounded as if everything was going along reasonably well, right? Until you gave your consent while your daughter was with you to have her lip pierced.
Yes.
A decision which I gather, reading between the lines, you regret a little bit.
Slightly.
And as a result of that, Mr. Carlin, I get the sense you filed this lawsuit, which alleges that your former wife had agreed to pay for half of your daughter's karate lessons.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And she became rather expert in karate. She took karate for several years. Your former wife had not paid for half.
That's correct.
Something that I don't think bothered you too much until the lip piercing.
No, that's not correct, Your Honor.
Well, this whole thing didn't blow up until the lip piercing. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then something happened that, as far as I'm concerned, was tragic, but we'll get to that in a moment. So why don't you tell me when this agreement was made with your former wife?
About 3 years ago, Sarah was shopping around. She was interested in taking karate. So she looked at one school, and she looked at another one, and she liked the second one. It wasn't as expensive as the other one, and as a matter of fact, it was a little bit cheaper, but they wanted the money up front, basically over a 10-month to a year period. It came out to a little over $4,100. I talked to my wife, Teresa, and she said, we cannot afford this. I said that Sarah's mother would agree to split it with me. I picked up the phone, I called her, I laid this out to her, exactly how they wanted. I didn't expect the money right up front from her, but she said that she would split the cost of the school. 2.5 years later, 3 years later, I've yet to get a dime.
Do you remember having the conversation with him
No,
when your
Your
daughter
Honor.
started school?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
He says that he did discuss with you when she first started karate school, make sure you tell me the truth, that he wanted you to pay for half because he couldn't assume the entire burden of the classes. Now, are you telling me that he's lying?
Yes, I am, Your Honor. That's not true. I never saw one document from the karate school. He never approached me about paying half the money. We split tokens. He would pay tokens 1 week, I would pay tokens for school. The karate lesson money was never brought up.
Okay. Now, something happened with your daughter recently, I assume, when she came to you and said she wanted to have her lip pierced. Tell me about that conversation.
Well, for 2 years, she had wanted to get something pierced. She has about 3 holes in her ear, and I was like, no more, no more. And when she was 16, we had discussions. She asked and asked and asked, and finally I broke down.
Did you discuss it with her father?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
It really wouldn't have been a big deal.
All right, Mr. Carlin.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you saw your daughter. I must tell you, I am sympathetic with you as a parent. You see your gorgeous daughter, and she's got this ridiculous thing in her face, and you got really angry.
That's correct.
So what did you do?
Well, Sarah and I had discussions prior to this that she was getting a little tired of the shared custody arrangement. So I picked her up and saw the stud, and I couldn't believe it. I took her down the next day to the place where she had it put in, and I let them know that she was only 16. I want this thing out now. And she refused to come in. So I took her back to her mother's house, and I said, you're tired of this shared custody arrangement? I said, I can't have this, either. And that was it. She's been with her mother since July 15th.
Mr. Carlin, you're going to answer me very honestly, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I think you've been a good father. I think you've been an involved father, good parent. Do you believe, Mr. Carlin, that your reaction to your daughter's piercing was appropriate?
At the time, yes.
Now, at the time, yes, because you're a human being and you have, you know, the juices started to flow. In retrospect.
No, I think I could have handled it a little bit differently, but like I said, you know, even Sarah agreed that she shouldn't have gotten this thing, and she even went down with me to the place where she got it pierced at to get it out. But when we got there, she made a stance that I'm not going to do it, Dad. And I said, well, then we just can't have this shared custody arrangement anymore.
Excuse me,
That
Your
was
Honor.
it.
She didn't want to go down to the piercing place. He made her go down, and when she wouldn't get it out, he dropped her off at the corner of my street and said, "Get out," in no uncertain terms. They had no discussion over the shared custody thing outlasting itself. The term was, "Get out."
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
As long as I pay the bills, I want to be able to look at you unencumbered by things coming out of your face and your ears.
And later today,
Never get in the middle of two people who are getting a divorce.
They've never got along. He can't stand her.
That's very understandable.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joe Carlin says his ex-wife Mary Stepp agreed to pay for half of their daughter's karate lessons. Mary claims they never had such an agreement, and Joe is angry because she allowed their daughter to get her lip pierced.
A judge is not a computer. A judge is a human being, and we bring to our job all of our history, you know, all of our own personal stories. So I'm going to share one with you, all right? I have 5 kids, and they're all older now. When one of my children started college, and this was 14, 15 years ago, he came home from school after his first couple of months, and I picked him up at the bus station, which was pretty far away from our house. And he was coming home with a friend. And he got off the bus, and I looked at this handsome child, and he had some thing wangling from his ear. So I kissed him hello. And I said, "You can get in the car. That thing stays outside." "Oh, Mother, don't be ridiculous. You know, everybody's doing it." I said, "Listen, I don't have to look at it. I brought you into this world. I still pay the bills. As long as I pay the bills, I want to be able to look at you unencumbered by things coming out of your face and your ears." He thought I was kidding. I said, "You got 5 minutes, boy." And he hung around, he spoke to his friend, and they were trying to figure out whether I was serious or not. 5 minutes passed, the thing wasn't out of his ear. I got in my car and I went home. And about 2.5 hours later, because it took that long by public transportation, you know where this was? This was in the Bronx, where he was in the Bronx, all the way up in the Bronx, where the bus came in from Albany, Bronx, New York. He managed to find his way home without the earring in his ear. Now, that doesn't mean when he was in college, he didn't have rings and ropes and dangles and doodads hanging out from every orifice of his body. But I didn't have to look at it. So you didn't do the right thing. You know, you're supposed to be a parent first and a friend second. And a parent says, "Babe, you got a couple more years until you are 18 years old. Then I can't tell you what to do." Right? You want to paint polka dots on your face, you can paint polka dots on your face. But while you're in my house, I don't want to have to look at this thing here. I don't want to look at something in your tongue. I don't want to look at something in your nose. I just don't want to see it. You didn't do that. That really irritated him. Right, Mr. Carlin?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So the problem is this. I find it difficult, Mr. Carlin, to imagine that 3 years have gone by with you taking no action whatsoever, even to get $100, $200, and have done nothing over the 3-year period of time to recoup any money if you say that there was this verbal agreement. I have a problem with that. So I'm going to take care of the lawsuit right now. I'm not satisfied that you have established to my satisfaction that there was this contract.
Your Honor, child support is more than just a check in the mail each week. There's
Sir, if that's
parental
what you're
support.
banking on, if that's what you're banking on, I'm telling you, it doesn't hold water. Karate lessons don't come under the category of necessaries for anybody. So I'm not, if that's what you're hanging your hat on, forget it. More importantly, Mr. Carlin, you have invested 16 years in your daughter. And I think it's a mistake to cut her off after 16 years because she, as a 16-year-old, made a foolish mistake. Big mistake, Mr. Carlin. I want you to rethink it. In any event, this lawsuit is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
I took care of her.
Not one
From a-
phone call
from an
since July 15th. Not one phone call. Nothing.
Sarah don't know how to use a phone.
Your duty's to call her at 7 o'clock
Oh, that's
at
my
night.
duty.
Yeah, you're
That's
the
my
father. She's a child.
She's 16 years old.
Great, great.
She's 16 years old. She can make up her mind.
And now the next case.
Parties on Lehman versus Morris. Step forward, please.
22-year-old Kelly Lehman says she made a deal with her best friend April Morse to take over the payments on her truck and pay for repairs. She's suing because April's ex-husband, James, repossessed it.
It's not every case that has a moral. This case has a moral. You know what that is?
Yes.
You know what the moral is?
Don't do business with friends.
That's one, but the other one would be never get in the middle of two people who are getting a divorce. It's always a mistake, right? Ms. Lamont, according to your papers, the defendant was a friend of yours. She and her husband were divorcing. You the husband?
Yes.
And I'm sure in addition to other things, there was a truck that they wanted to sell, or that she wanted to sell. There were payments due and owing on the truck. You made an arrangement with her to take over the payments on the truck and to do substantial repairs that were on the truck.
Correct.
You paid the money for the repairs. You didn't have the truck in your possession at that
No,
time.
I did not.
Truck is in the shop.
Correct.
And you kept paying.
I made one payment.
In August.
In August, correct.
And according to these papers, for most of the month of August, the truck was still in the shop.
Yes.
And you're going to tell me why you did that in a minute. And then, in the divorce, according to your answer, he got possession of the truck, and he came and took it out of her driveway. Is that this case?
Well, it was parked on the street.
Or took it from the street. So you want to be paid back for all the repairs you did on the truck, for the payment that you made on the truck, and then there's something here about punitive damages, which is really nonsense.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We started getting in a fight after her boyfriend said that he was attracted to me after we had gone out one night together.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kelly Lehman says she made a deal with her best friend April Morris to take over the payments on her truck and pay for repairs. April and her ex-husband James say they repossessed the truck because Kelly made the payments late.
So let's hear about this deal.
Okay, well, April and I have been friends since the first day of high school. I needed a more dependable vehicle. She had it. I said, okay, we made this arrangement. At the time when the payment came due for the August payment, I didn't want to make it. I didn't have the truck. Why should I make it if I didn't own it?
Why do you think she should have made payment on the truck if the truck wasn't in her possession?
It was her agreement with me that she would make that first payment. And we thought that the body work that needed to be done would be done a lot sooner.
But it wasn't. Didn't it seem unfair to you that she had
It wasn't
made
my fault.
hundreds of...
It wasn't my fault that she agreed to make the payment.
But didn't it seem unfair to you? This is a friend of yours. Didn't it seem unfair to you that you had this truck that needed all kinds of repairs in order to make it drivable? Because there's stuff that was needed on the clutch and the bodywork and the muffler, things that she didn't know about at the beginning.
She knew about everything, and it was her choice.
The muffler was never told that it needed a new muffler.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
I was never told that the windshield was cracked. I was never told that the truck had actually been rolled and that there was more damage to it than that was apparently done to
Well,
it.
The truck wasn't rolled.
Gives you another good lesson.
Right.
You don't buy a pig in a poke. If you're going to start spending money on something, you take a look at it, even if you're dealing with rent. So you made the August payment.
Late. She made it late when she promised to make it on time.
She made it late, but at the time that she made it, she still didn't have the vehicle in her
That wasn't
possession.
my fault, though. But she didn't have a
Whose fault
problem
is
with
it? It wasn't my fault, madam. The truck was in your possession, under your control when it was damaged. Wasn't under her control when it was damaged.
She didn't have a problem with making that payment until we got in a fight over her boyfriend.
How much did you spend on this truck altogether?
Oh, I've spent a total of $1,053.38.
$1,053
and 38 cents.
38 cents. And that includes the bills that you have to show me for the repairs, as well as the 1 month's payment for August. You don't deny that she paid you this money?
I don't know what she's giving you.
Okay, show it to her.
At the time that the repairs were being done, I was told it would be a matter of days when I had given her the money, and it ended up taking like 2 weeks.
And that was not my fault. I kept mailing checks to the body shop, and they kept telling me they didn't receive them.
It's always somebody else's fault. You keep saying it's not my fault, it's not my fault, it's not my fault. It's not her fault. You, step up here, I have a question for you. What's your name?
James.
James, you went and took the truck off the street.
Yes.
Did you know she had made all these repair payments? Look at me, James. Don't look at the floor. Did you know she had made all the repairs?
Yeah.
Well, didn't you think it was wrong to go and take the truck?
No.
Why not?
She didn't do everything she said she was going to do.
You're talking about this September payment that she didn't make on time. You repossessed this truck from her September 12th.
By the law,
No,
you
not
have to have
September 12th.
insurance on the vehicle. She didn't have insurance on the vehicle.
Did you ever discuss it? I mean, you were friends. Is that right?
Jim was
They
not
were
even
friends.
involved.
Just a second. If you were friends with her, that means you knew each other. You would socialize in each other's homes. Your
past.
children played. Is that true?
Kind of.
They never got along. They never
Oh,
got along.
I
He
could
can't
understand
stand her.
that. That's very understandable.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, right now, she's out all this money, and you got the truck. And you were awarded the truck in the divorce, sir. Is
Yes.
that right?
That's right.
How many cars did your family have?
2.
2. You had the truck, and what kind of car did you have?
A Ford Escort.
Uh-huh. So you agreed between the two of you that you would keep the Escort and you would keep the truck. Is that correct?
But we also agreed that if she made the payments on time, as soon as our divorce was finalized, that we would sign and let her refinance the truck. But after we got in a fight, she didn't want to refinance. She said, I'm going to do what I want. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't take the vehicle from me. She refused to get insurance until it was in her name. Therefore, she's driving around a vehicle that we owe a lot of money on still. She did not make the, okay, granted, give her the first month. She did make payment on time. If you say she didn't have the vehicle, even though she agreed and it wasn't my fault, the second month, she came up with an excuse. I don't have the money. I can't make it till it's late. She breached our agreement first. And when he took the truck, he took it on his own. I had nothing to do with it. The
Ms.
payment
Morris,
was late.
right now there is something inequitable about you having a totally fixed truck and her having nothing but the bills.
No. We offered to make her payments. They wouldn't accept it. They wanted all the money up front.
She paid all of it up front, $1,053.38. Can I have the bills, please?
She didn't.
She didn't pay, make it in
I
payments.
don't agree with all of this.
Miss Morris, I don't care what you agree with. There is something
You asked me-
inequitable.
you asked me,
Hey,
I'm telling you.
now I'm asking you to be quiet. You, sir, are driving around in a truck where she fixed the bodywork, she fixed the clutch, she fixed the muffler, she fixed the windshield, and you got
She
a
didn't
brick.
fix the windshield.
Fix no windshield.
Strike windshield. And you're driving around in the truck. You should have taken care of this yourself.
Sữa cho trẻ sơ sinh như thế nào là sữa tốt nhất và tiêu chí nào để bố mẹ có thể lựa chọn cho trẻ sữa cho bé sơ sinh từ 0 cho đến 6 tháng tuổi ạ. Chia sẻ với các mẹ nhé, chia sẻ với các mẹ về sữa cho trẻ sơ sinh như thế nào là tốt nhất thì không phải loại sữa. Trên thực tế là nếu như ở giai đoạn trẻ sơ sinh thì không có loại sữa nào tốt hơn sữa mẹ. Nếu có thể thì mẹ hãy cho con bú hoàn toàn bằng sữa mẹ trong 6 tháng đầu. Theo Tổ chức Y tế Thế giới khuyến cáo là nên cho con bú sữa mẹ hoàn toàn trong 6 tháng đầu. Tuy nhiên nếu như mẹ ít sữa, không đủ sữa hoặc là vì một lý do nào đó bé không được bú sữa mẹ thì lúc này bố mẹ sẽ bổ sung sữa công thức cho con. Nhưng mà nên chọn cái loại sữa nào mà có cái thành phần gần giống với sữa mẹ, và hãy nhớ rằng mỗi bé sẽ là một cá thể riêng biệt. Sữa này có thể tốt với bé này nhưng mà không tốt với bé khác, cho nên là sữa tốt nhất cho bé chính là cái loại sữa phù hợp nhất với sự phát triển của con, phù hợp với sự hệ tiêu hóa của con. Đấy. Không có sữa tốt nhất mà chỉ có sữa phù hợp nhất thôi bố mẹ nha. Còn là tiêu chí để chọn sữa cho trẻ sơ sinh từ 0 cho đến 6 tháng tuổi là như thế nào? Chọn sữa cho bé sơ sinh giai đoạn 0 đến 6 tháng tuổi thì nó sẽ là nhiều cái vấn đề băn khoăn dành cho ba mẹ. Ba mẹ có thể chọn đúng loại sữa phù hợp để ba mẹ có thể căn cứ vào những cái tiêu chí như sau để có thể lựa chọn cho con mình một loại sữa phù hợp. Đối với trẻ sơ sinh thì chọn sữa có thành phần hỗ trợ tiêu hóa vì hệ tiêu hóa của trẻ đang còn rất là non yếu. Đối với trẻ sinh non thì chọn sữa có nhiều protein, chất béo và khoáng chất để giúp trẻ phát triển tốt nhất. Trẻ nhẹ cân thì chọn sữa có tỷ lệ dinh dưỡng tương đồng với sữa mẹ để cung cấp nhiều dưỡng chất. Trẻ bị táo bón thì chọn sữa có chứa nhiều chất xơ để ngăn ngừa tình trạng táo bón cho trẻ. Còn đối với trẻ tiêu chảy khi dùng sữa thì chọn sữa không chứa lactose hoặc là tham khảo ý kiến của các chuyên gia để có thể chọn được những cái loại sữa tốt nhất